under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, guys. All right, first roll call, if you could just click in. All right, it's working. Is that everybody? All right, with 36 present today, moving on. Additions, deletions, and/or clarifications to the orders of the day. Does anyone have any amendments they'd like to make to the agenda? Senator Alcasani. Any objection to approving the agenda as it stands? Seeing no objections, it is approved. Moving on, additions, deletions, and/or changes to the minutes. No minutes were sent out, so we could postpone them until Ms. Ali has a chance to forward them to us. Mr. Brown.
Motion to postpone.
Any objection to postponing the minutes until April 8th? Seeing no objections. Thank you, sir. They'll be postponed. Moving on down, legislative branch report. Senator Armstrong.
All right, everybody. So the Senate Committee on Rules met the past week. They discussed a bill regarding Title VI with a lot of changes authored by Mr. Aziz. We had yet to finish the entire review. There were a few more amendments that we didn't get a chance to discuss in detail. Hopefully we'll discuss them in more detail this week. We did discuss it briefly about 3 weeks ago. So hopefully we can take a vote on it at the next meeting and have it before you guys at the Senate meeting after that. Yeah, that's about it.
Questions? Seeing none. Thank you, sir. Senator Tinsley.
Okay, in terms of appropriation and audits, we did not meet because of no relevant business. In terms of ASRC, the final work of the committee will be presented before you today. So, questions?
Thank you, ma'am. Senator Aziz.
So last week the JC committee met and we started our end of the year updates with the executive branch, and we'll be continuing those updates for the next 2 to 3 weeks, giving each department time to prepare the presentation.
Thank you. Any questions? Senator Alcasani.
Alright, social funding did not meet this week. We will definitely do next week. We will be opening up Pell Grants again, so that students know we have a few $1,000 left. Also, for any senators, especially that were on the committee last semester, and then I think I said this last week, if you have anything that you think needs to be fixed about special funding or something that pertains to Pell Grants that you think could be effective to make the funding go more smoothly, let me know. Email me, email me, whatever it is that is better for you. Any questions?
Thank you, ma'am. Senator Coker.
Right, Senate. Tuesday, we have our final 10th day of the semester next week, April 8th. We advise Mr. Hartman is leading that effort along with Ms. Richards. And then in addition, with regard to that, we will be commencing a final report here for this semester. And this will be my final UCGA report. I will be resigning tonight after Senate, as I've been elected president-elect and have to serve as president-elect. So it's been fun. I want to thank all of you for this opportunity to get to know you, get to know your stories, and to serve with all of you to try to improve U.S. staff and make it the best that it can be. So I wish you all of you well, good luck, and have a happy summer. Go Wolves.
Questions? All right. Senator Aldridge.
If there's anything I remember between now and open forum, I'll say it. But, and this is not an April Fool's joke, but I guess I'll have no report this time.
Any questions? All right. As for my report, the most current thing we're working on is the green energy fee, the charter. If Mr. Joe, Mr. Mikulski is also very heavily but he works with them very well, very closely. And we met the dean actually at Target, I believe. And he just said, hey, can we finish up and wrap up the year with a revision of the charter? And I was like, sure, that's fine. So that's one thing we're working on. We're also working on trying to make sure the transitions go as smoothly as possible across our entire branch. So again, if you guys have any questions about any of these positions, I know myself, Mr. Aldridge, actually most of them know each other very well as well, so they know the positions, what they entail. Again, even ask if you guys, I know a lot of you guys probably do know the next incoming senators. Talk to them, tell them about how it is cool, it is fun to be a chairperson. Like, it's something you just want, like, honestly, it's just something you might want to instill in them, that it's, even if you don't get it, it's good to run on the first day, which we've had a couple people do on the first day of Senate. So, I mean, just try to inspire them, even if there's people in the back. I inspire you. Just, run for these positions, talk to them, get to know them a little better. You have a bunch of chances to talk to them even right after this. Try to fill these positions and try to be as, strong with the integrity as possible. Alright, so that's enough for my report. Sure. Questions? Okay, well, moving on down. Executive branch report. Mr. Sandoval.
Hey there. Hello. Hello. How are y'all doing?
Happy April Fool.
So we're doing the executive branch update through JAC, my agency heads particularly, and we are transitioning Mr. Coco and Mr. Rondo White. And so that's pretty much it. We're wrapping up. So Mr. Wormkey and I, we have only 31 days left. So we will be going on to our next stages of our life. So, is there any questions?
Senator Aldridge.
Can you give just a quick, because I know we talked about Newsom next, but a quick idea of what the dates are for inauguration and banquet? Obviously more information we followed up, but just a heads up.
All right. So they will be on the same day. It will be on April 25th. Inauguration will be in the daytime, and the banquet will be in the evening. And you can sign up in the coming weeks. So, is there any other questions?
Senator Larkins.
Just curious, what do you have planned on with your almost done school?
Me personally? Okay. Well, I'm almost on my master's degree. So I will be going on to start teaching in August. So I'll be entering the classroom. I'm aiming for 9th grade English. So I will be enlightening our children. Because, great. A lot of people laugh at that, but I think it's so, I've been with Senate and student government for 5 years now, and it's going to be heartbreaking to let go a little bit and to say goodbye. But I think I have a few more sentences to go, right?
Yeah.
Is that a yes? All right, so I have a few more sentences to go, so I won't start crying or make any of you cry yet, so. That's that. Is there any other questions? All right, then.
Thank you.
It's so nice to see y'all.
Oh, also, if you guys have any ideas for superlatives, I know it was just roughly mentioned to you guys, but you can relay them to myself, Mr. Aldridge, Mr. Sandoval. Anyone really just, and superlatives are like, in high school you had best dressed, all that kind of stuff. If you guys have any ideas for smaller ones, like just for the Senate, I guess, because they'll address their branch and Judicial will address your Judicial branch, so just heads up. All right, moving on, Judicial branch report.
Hello, Senators. I don't know if there's new senators in here. My name is Brian Whitman. I'm the Chief Justice for the Judicial Branch. Now, last time I spoke about how the Judicial Branch was going to go to Lakeland. And we did go to Lakeland, and we had a student government mini summit where we met with the student government from Lakeland, from USF Lakeland, from USF St. Pete, USF Sarasota Manatee. And we all had a great time. We all discussed what kind of plans we want to move forward with, collaborated on ideas and stuff. And the most thing that I took back from this meeting is that the senators from both St. Pete and Sarasota, they need guidance. And they want to come and visit the Senate so that they can understand more Robert's rules, how to do procedural things, how to write up statutes, how to read statutes and things like that. So if the leadership is considering that, we can contact with each other, and they might be willing to come over during the summer to watch you guys. And they're very excited. They look up to this campus as the main campus, so they look up to us for everything that we do. So I feel that it would be a great collaboration with the other campuses if they were to visit. Okay, on to other news. As a co-equal branch head, I feel that it's my responsibility to let you all know about an incident that occurred within the judicial branch. It was brought to my attention by Gary Manka that a recording was left in the office of our office, and it was without our knowledge. Gary Manka informed me that this individual that left this recorder made the recording without our knowledge, and this individual was Associate Justice Corey McCants. This individual was confronted about the recording, in which he confirmed the existence of this unauthorized recording to all of the justices, as well as our judicial clerk and our advisor, Gary Manka. The contents of these recordings, I don't know what the contents of these recordings. I'm also unaware of how long this has been going on or where else this has occurred. I know I can speak for myself, as well as everyone on the court, that we feel that our privacy was violated when this occurred. Ever since what we know, we feel that a discomfort now within our office, because the fact that the recorder was left without our knowledge violates our privacy. And I'm sure I can speak with everyone in here that if a recorder was left and without your knowledge, that you would not appreciate that as well. So this is just, what I'm doing right now is just letting everyone here know that if anyone's been in our office, the possibility exists that you may have been recorded without your knowledge. Now I just want to clarify, I do not know if this recording still exists, where the location of this recording, who has this recording, or what's going to be done with this recording. But I feel that it's my responsibility as the equal head of the branch, for the judicial branch, to let you all know that this occurred. And the proper procedures are being set in place for the things for what had happened. So I'm here to let you all know that I did file a formal SRR complaint, and I did inquire with Human Resources about the matter. And that's all I have to say about that. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions? Senator Larkins,
Who was the,
if you'd like, okay.
who was the person who said anything about the recording?
It was Associate Justice Corey McCants. Are there any other questions about this matter?
Senator Kenton.
So wait, you said that. So you don't know if there's other. So everyone, like, you don't know if there's other recordings. Like, everyone in the office could be.
All I know is an individual recorded us without our knowledge. This individual was confronted about the recording. It was confirmed, and the proper procedures are being made so that we can act upon that. And that's all I know about that.
Thanks, sir. Moving on. Open forum. Miss Erica, if you'd like to start off.
Hello everyone, thanks for having me again. We started off this week in athletics, so it's some very exciting news, and hope to continue this week. Very exciting news as well. We've been marketing our tails off, so I apologize for my voice being a little hoarse, but we started off today with the introduction of our new men's basketball head coach, Orlando Antigua. He is currently on the University of Kentucky staff. That's heading to the Final Four tomorrow. But we're excited to have him. We had a press conference today, and he'll start whenever Kentucky's run ends. But we're very excited to have him. He's got a very infectious enthusiasm, and he's excited to be a part of the USF family. So I hope that you guys will have the opportunity to meet him. He's gonna hit the ground running and head out on campus and the community. So I'll try to get him put to a meeting maybe with you all. Next up is tomorrow's WNIT Final Four semifinals game. The paper I handed out is a student tailgate that we're putting together. We're trying to give you guys as much free things as possible, encourage you all to be there. We're starting off with a student tailgate outside Gate D of the Sun Dome. It'll start at 5:30. Bulls Radio will be there. There will be raffle prizes and free food, free shirts, lower level bowl seating availability. Yeah, so basically you want to be one of the first at least 500 students there. But you really want to aim to be the first 200 students there. The gates will open at 6, the game is at 7. The first 200 students will get free food in our student club, as well as lower level seating in the bowl, as well as a free t-shirt. The first 300 students will get the lower level seating and the t-shirts, and the first 500 students get the t-shirts. So hopefully you guys will come out and support our women's basketball team. They're making a great run, and after this game, if they win, there's possibility that we'll host a championship game here on Saturday. So stay tuned for information on that. And finally, softball and baseball are in town for American Athletic Conference Series this weekend. Baseball will take on UCF this Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and softball will take on Louisville this Saturday and Sunday. So if you guys can come up with as many wins as possible. Students are free to everything, including this final four WNIT game. Coach Jose Hernandez is buying all student tickets, so come on out and support.
Any questions? Senator Priest.
For that, can you bring us an ID?
Yes, please. Just bring your student ID and you'll have access to all this stuff. Oh, I have one more thing.
Yes, ma'am.
The raffle prizes that we're giving out, we'll be drawing them in-game, but you can start getting your tickets at the tailgate. And we have 5 really awesome prizes. The first one is an Under Armour gear bag. It's got gear that the team has, that our athletic staff has, and it's all Under Armour. It's a pretty big deal. We have a $100 gift card to Hooters, a $100 gift card to the Columbia, and then 2 Jambox mini speakers to give out. So those are pretty cool. So I'll just bump it. I promise I'll be there.
Any more questions? Seeing none. Seeing none. Thank you. Anybody else wanting to reference the open forum? Sir in the back, if you could just stand, say your name.
Eli Zucker.
Thank you.
3 things. The first 2 are rather quick. First, I was curious about the status of the $3.8 million due to USF students from the overcharge from the state audit for online classes. I read an article about the $19.9 million was charged by USF when the courses in reality should have only cost $16.1 million with fees. So I was wondering if I could get a little bit of clarification on that. Second thing that I would like to request, in light of everything that has gone on with the recent ERC and student rights and things, I'd like to request that the student code of conduct be revised to include that proof beyond a reasonable doubt be the standard for any and all grievances rather than the preponderance of evidence. If it is changed to proof beyond a reasonable doubt, there will be a lot less problems with this. Gather a bunch of people together. I'm not saying that it happens, but it leaves too much of a predatory opportunity for people to take advantage of. The third thing I'd like to request is that student government absorb the Center for Student Involvement into its structure and provide stricter overwatch on it, because as it stands right now, there is a very broad opportunity for viewpoint discrimination to occur. I'm not saying that it has happened. I do not have proof that it has happened, but the opportunity does exist there, and I would be more than happy to talk to any of the senators and questions. Thank you for your time.
What was your third point? Your third point was to absorb.
Third point, to absorb the Center for Student Involvement into the student government and provide stricter overwatch on it.
Okay. Thanks, sir. Let's see. I know I can apply to at least 2 of these directly right now, and the third one I can probably just address with them first. So the state audit, unfortunately, we don't do anything specifically with that money, so that's something I can address to probably Mr. Sedicado or Mr. Trevenovich, thank you. Up higher, where they're actually the CFOs of the university and respectively downward. So I'll follow up with that, and so I'll have a response to you as soon as possible. Thank you. And then moving on, I've actually been to Mr. His name is Dr. Winston. He's the director of SRR. I've been to one of his seminars that he talked about, and he went over student government laws with me. He specifically said that beyond a reasonable doubt, they don't even use in criminal court, and so he wanted us to remove it from our statutes because there's no way students can meet up to such a criteria. That even for criminal accusations, they go so far as, I believe, well, preponderance is for, it depends on if it's civil or if it's criminal. So there's a fine line they draw, but he specifically told me that he would not even use it in SRR, so there'd be something we'd have to revise in SG statutes to figure that out.
With all due respect, Ms. President, I don't think that it would solve a lot of problems, and it would make it so that way erroneous reports would not be filed. By making it that much stricter, it makes it so that we don't have to be 100% certain. It could not just be based on the preponderance of evidence, rather it would have to be 100% certain. It's too easy to just go off with the preponderance of evidence, with all due respect.
All right, so I don't want to talk about specific cases, but I'll talk to you right afterwards, and we can figure out what we can actually address. But yeah, and then the third thing for CSI, I believe it would be too rash to absorb them, or at least even do that right away without actually addressing your question with them or bringing concerns to them. So like, it'd be no different than if I just fired at him without telling him like, hey, can you fix this thing that people are having complaints about? I didn't even ask him. So have you talked to them yet?
I mean, it's kind of hard to talk to them when their standard is, well, I mean, I would be more than happy to discuss it with you.
Sure, that's fine. All right, thank you, sir. Senator Canton.
Okay, well, kind of going back to the topic of the impeachment committee. I've attended the impeachment committee hearings. I've looked into the matters there as I can because it seemed to me that there's been some questions I wanted to answer that I think will be fully explored. I want to begin by saying that I do not mean to personally denigrate or attack any senators, so I'm about to say I'm not throwing out any names. If you want more specifics, it's all been public record meetings. You can go and look at notes. I do not feel, but that being said, I do not feel that the impeachment committee has been run according to proper procedures. I feel that there have been several errors already committed, and I feel like there's already worrying evidences of biases in this committee that are making me uncomfortable with its judgments and operations. Specifically, the first thing, procedural error, was that to my knowledge there was not a public announcement of the first committee meeting that I could have found. I really wanted to go to it. I had asked around a little bit. The only reason that I happened to be able to attend was that I was in the conference room in the immediately preceding meeting. Second procedural error was that there was, before the official election of a faculty advisor, discussion of official matters and what I believe to be a violation of Senate Standards of Procedure 2.2. The committee discussed whether or not to move forward with impeachment without the presence of their elected advisor, Ms. Jessica Morgan. And in fact, in the second meeting, part of the discussion that came place without that advisor was brought up as a starting point for the discussion in the second meeting. So the error is has clearly carried over into further operations. These are not procedural errors, but these are not actual violations of SOP or procedure, but these are some of the issues that are making me feel as if there may have already been a bias that has crept into the committee, or that will affect their future decisions and make it so that there's a big question about how fair it was. Specifically, there was, during the discussion of the impeachment, the senators admitted, several of them actually said that all they had to go on at the moment was the accusations given to them in the impeachment document, and that because there were accusations, they needed to look into it. Now, by this logic, I could file articles of impeachment accusing every single one of you of any range of crimes, and because you simply were accused, there should be a full investigation where we talk to you, we talk to your associates, talk to your friends and families. It did not, the verbatim evidence offered to me seemed to be because they are accused of being guilty, we have enough reason to believe that they are guilty, that we are going to start trying them and finding out if they're guilty. There was an open admission that there was no other evidence to go on. In the second meeting, I also believe that there was evidence that members of the committee had been biased by outside information, including from media sources. Some cases misunderstanding, but in any case, to my understanding, how these committees usually work, how the process of finding evidence works, is that the judges of the case are supposed to be going in with an open mind, with their investigation untainted by outside resources. That's why they don't allow jurors who have heard about the case in the press already to sit on the jury executing a case in a real instance. One of the senators talked about affidavits that they believe would be brought before the court, affidavits that were actually involved in the Dean of Students appeal and that were reported by Alex Rosenthal of the Oracle. So the senator had already been viewing evidence that they believed was related to the case outside of the confines of the committee, without the oversight of their faculty advisor, without the input of their peers, and was allowing this to direct their questioning and the line of investigation they were going to go down the committee, which to me seems to be a de facto violation of due process. I believe that if I were being impeached, if it was my job on the line, I would be extremely uncomfortable with the fact that somebody had already been looking into the case and had been influenced by what seemed at the end to be a misunderstanding even of where the affidavits and testimony were coming from and who they were meant for. I hope that made sense. Finally, I would like to point out that a good friend of mine has class with one of the senators, and I was talking to them about the fact that I was looking into this case, and they mentioned it to me, and they agreed to come with me to Senate tonight because I wanted you to let them, to hear like the verbatim what was said. And obviously, I believe that is a statutory violation if one of the senators was discussing the matter outside of the committee. I didn't know if the Senate would deem it a significant violation or wouldn't it matter. But like I said, this is people's jobs on the line. I'm sure some people pay their rent or whatever with this. If there was any of us sitting in front of this committee, we would want a very strict standard of fairness adhered to. So with that, my friend John Quiroz, I would like to yield my time on the floor if I have any remaining, or if that is statutory legal to a member of the audience.
Sure.
If you're allowed.
Mr. If you could just state your name for the record and then
My name is John Carroll, and I have a class with Senator Pellegrino. And in this conversation, she had a conversation with a student in which the student talked about, said there had been an attack on this chamber towards the judicial bench. And she responded by saying, I can't talk about it because I'm on the committee, but there has been some shady stuff going on in the judicial branch, and it needs to be investigated.
Mr. Aldridge.
So I would like to make sure you misstated this correctly. That Mr. Kane talked about that you discussed the facts of the case already. How, if that's exactly what you were saying, how is there's been shady stuff going on, the facts of the case in this investigation? Because I mean, if that's it, then I think it's a very, very loose interpretation of the facts of the case.
Hold on, guys, hold on. We'll finish this discussion when we actually have the report where it is outlined in the agenda. This is open forum. If anybody else wants to address the body,
I apologize.
you're fine. Alrighty then. Oh, Senator Flynn.
Alright, let's bring harmony back into play. So Saturday I'll be volunteering at Stampede to Success. I'm sure if you talked to me, I'll get you the emails more volunteer there too. 10 to 4, give some tours of housing, meet new bulls, potential bulls. It should be fun. And if you just want to hang out with me, I'll be in the MSC, NBD. I know, you're stoked on a Saturday to be there. So if you want any more information, just contact me. I'll be here. You know, most of the Senate meeting.
Senator Yulala.
I have a follow-up on that. Just
be aware, so if you are on campus on Saturday, we're gonna have a lot of prospective goals coming to campus, and they're doing tours of campus with your tour guides. They're doing tours of housing with housing staff and other volunteers. So if you're around campus, make sure, as senators, I think you guys should, if you see crowds of people walking by, stop by, talk to some of them, see if they have any questions. Maybe you guys have some knowledge that you guys can talk to them about how great it is to be a bowl. So just keep an eye out for that on Saturday if you're around campus.
Sounds fun.
Right back at it. And if you don't want to be around all that, on a Saturday, I don't know what happens on your Friday night, but stay within campus, go to the library, hit up the 6th floor. It's the quietest place, nobody's going to go up there. And just make sure that you know that there's going to be traffic. So, yes.
Thank you. Anybody else want to invest the open forum? Good stuff. Moving on. General business. Senate Impeachment Committee report. It's all here now. You don't have to. Okay. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Hello, everybody. All right. Should I go ahead and give my report first, or answer the accusations?
You can give the report first.
Okay.
It's the order it goes in.
All right, perfect. So we met last Thursday. We've had 2 meetings since the committee was elected. We met last Thursday, was our first meeting. We went ahead and elected the chair of the committee. I was elected as the chair. Then we moved on and elected the non-student advisor, which was Jessica Morgan. And Jessica Morgan was not present at the room. And we went along the agenda, which was discussion. We entered a little bit of discussion. And then Senate President Patel went ahead and pointed out statutes saying that in order to meet quorum, we must have all 3 members of the committee present plus the non-student advisor in the room. Since Jessica Morgan, who was just being elected as the non-student advisor, was not present in the room, we went ahead and adjourned the meeting, and we postponed all the rest of the items until the following meeting. That was all that happened that meeting. No voting went on. There was a little bit of discussion from the time that we elected the non-student advisor until we went over the SOPs, and we decided that we didn't make quorum at the moment, so we went right ahead and adjourned the meeting. Then we had a second meeting, which was yesterday, and we continued what was left from the first meeting. We went into discussion. The committee members decided that the accusations, the memo of impeachment, warrants investigation. We took a vote on it with a vote of 3 to 0 to 0. We decided to proceed with an investigation. So after that, we created a plan on how to go about investigating these violations. The plan includes calling individuals to testify. Among these individuals, we have all of the members of the court will be called to testify, including the clerk, as well as Student Body President Mr. Markey, ERC Supervisor of Elections Mr. Asuna, Jean Coco, Rondell White, Randy Arnold, Shaheen Nori. The accusers would be Mr. Abdul, Mr. Rodriguez, and Ms. Kati. That's about it Adam, President Furthermore, Adam Aldridge, and Senate President Mr. Patel will also be called to testify. Aside from that, we're also requesting public records from the court, starting on the day or right before or right at the moment from when they received the appeal from Mr. Coco for the ERC violations. Next meeting, we'll have, I have contacted all the individuals that we will be calling to testify at this point. I sent out a doodle, so they will fill out the dates for our next hearing. Those will be, or the next meetings will be this Thursday at 7 p.m. from 7 to 9. Friday, we decided in committee that we will have it from 2:30 to 5 p.m. However, I've been just recently informed that one of the committee members may not be able to attend the meeting on Friday. Having said that, we must have all 3 members and the non-student advisor to make quorum. So the Friday session, it may or may not happen at this point. I will make sure that I schedule all the individuals that need to testify in accordance to whether or not we need quorum for Friday. Actually, we might be able to meet for 1 hour on Friday. And then we also have the Monday from 2 to 6 p.m. The first portion, I'm sorry? For this meeting, the first portion of the meeting, so basically we'll have an agenda and an open forum and everything like that. The first portion of the meeting will be open to the public, and then when we start with interviews, then nobody other than the 3 committee members and the non-student advisor can be in the room. So therefore, it is closed to the public. And that's it for my report. At this point, does anybody have any question regarding that?
So, Senator Ode?
Can you repeat the time for Thursday's meetings, please?
Okay, Thursday 7 to 9. Friday I have 2:30 to 6. Actually, we agreed 6, but that may or may not change. And then Monday 2 to 6 p.m.
Thank you.
Senator Hilo.
Clarification, you said that those were all closed to anybody except for the 3 on the committee, the advisor, and 1 being...
When we enter the interview portion of the meeting, it will be closed to the public. Only the 3 members of the committee and the non-student advisor will be present in the room with the person that is testifying.
Senator Priest.
I'm just wondering, why is this committee not
Excuse me?
just because... No.
Well,
I was sick with a cold, my bad.
Senator Canton, did you still have a question?
I used to have a question.
Go ahead. Could you put your hand down so I was doing?
What was the reasoning behind having Senate President Patel and Senate President Pro Tempore Aldridge testify?
Actually, Mr. American answered that question. He was the one who proposed the 3 individuals to testify.
I mean, if you read the oracle, it has something to the extent of maybe what I guess could have been the reasoning, but maybe it wasn't explained correctly in my opinion. But pretty much when I brought up bringing in Pro Tempore Aldridge and Senate President Patel, really those are the guys who are in student government most often. Those are the guys who are most knowledgeable about student government, who spend the most time with student government due to their jobs. I thought bringing them in and seeing if they knew it, if anyone would know something, it'd be maybe one of those 2 because of just the pure time that they spend in student government. I thought that it was a good idea to do so, but pretty much.
Is that a follow-up, Senator Canton?
That is a follow-up.
Go ahead.
So, if I'm understanding correctly, once again, a portion of the reasoning for bringing these people in was based off of your interpretation.
I think you misunderstood. He said if you had read the oracle, it explains why he called us in.
Yeah, that is what I'm saying, is that...
No. It explains his reasoning for why he brought us in.
Okay.
It claims the exact thing he just said in the oracle.
That's what I was asking.
Right. He wasn't quoting the oracle, or he wasn't citing the oracle. No problem. Question, Senator Aziz. Well, actually, really quick. I won't accept your question right now. Anybody else?
Okay, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
Senator Brown.
After last Tuesday's Senate, Mr. Aziz came to me as a friend, telling me that he was coerced and threatened with his own impeachment if he did not sign that memorandum for impeachment. I'm standing here today saying that certain members of the legislative and executive branches both threatened Mr. Aziz into signing that document, and he came to me saying that he did not approve of them signature on that document. Therefore, I cannot support this committee at all.
Senator Flom.
I have 2 questions. First one, are the interviews that are being conducted behind closed doors going to be obviously not open to the public? Are they going to be public record?
I believe so.
Is that a thing? Or?
Mr. Aldridge, would you like to clarify?
My interpretation of the rules, and I'm very innocent, I'm saying them all, is correct. When we had, so a good example that we've used in the past was during the summer in the Judicial and Ethics Committee, they had to do an investigation on one of the organizations about their constitution, their election practice. How that worked was that those minutes would not be put out on the website per se, but that if someone wanted to public record request it, they would have the ability to do so. So my interpretation is that because at the end of the day, the report will come with all that stuff included. So, from what I could best tell you is that it's not going to be just put on the website like the rest of the sets of minutes will be, but that it will be, if you want to obtain it, all you have to do is submit a public records request to student government, and that will be given to you.
And anything that is, it's not HIPAA, what is it? The FERPA, thank you. Anything FERPA related will be omitted. Or, I don't know if they omit the entire thing or not, but they'll omit at least that part of it.
Okay, and my second question, I don't really know if this would like have anything to do with it, but like the information that was just brought up by the justices, is that going to be used as like evidence, or does that have any hindrance towards this impeachment report?
I could not tell you.
No. Okay, it's fine.
Go ahead.
Okay, well now I would like to address the questions brought up by Senator Clinton, just really quick. For example, the first meeting was not public record, I'm sorry, I'm reading the wrong thing. There was no public announcement for the first meeting. There was an agenda sent out 24 hours before the meeting. Agendas are public record, therefore it was publicly announced. I would like to say regarding that. The committee continued without Jessica Morgan. Yes, definitely, I just addressed that. As soon as we realized that we didn't meet quorum, Mr. Batel pointed it out. We adjourned right away. We did not continue with general business. Moving on, senators at meeting, all the information we got was that memo of impeachment. I sent out an email to all parties saying that at this point I will be accepting further evidence and official statements. We do not have any other evidence other than the memo of impeachment. I would like to remind everybody here present that we're not impeaching anybody. We are conducting an investigation. By accepting to conduct an investigation, we're not automatically impeaching any justices. And that's exactly what we're doing. Yes, there were 30 plus allegations that the committee decided that warrants an investigation, and that's exactly what we did. At this point, we are not impeaching anybody. That's all I would like to point out. Moving on, outside information before, yes, I would like to say I admitted reading the oracle. I read the oracle before I was even elected to this committee and before I was chair of the committee. I really enjoy my freedom of press, my freedom of speech. I can go out and read whatever I want. I just want to let you know, as soon as I was elected to this committee and to this chair position, I just automatically stopped. This article on affidavits came up I believe last week, probably at the beginning of the week, before we even had the Senate meeting, if I'm not mistaken, but definitely came up before I was the chair of the committee. So all of this happened, all this outside information happened before this committee was formed and before I was even a part of it or even a chair of the committee. If I am wrong, please go ahead and correct me. Other than that, oh yes, that covers the affidavits without oversight of advisory that you mentioned. Anything else?
Senator King?
I think, well, first of all, I just want to say, like, I'm really not trying to, like, make any personal attacks against any senators. Senator Pellegrino, I consider you a friend. I think that you are one of the most intelligent, hardworking people that I know. I have nothing but respect for you. So I want to point that out first. But I think you misunderstood some of my concerns. I wasn't saying that you should never read the oracle or that just knowing about the issue in the press was an issue. My issue was that you had directly brought up some of the evidence that was presented in the Oracle article in a manner that very, very strongly indicated to me that it would be influencing the judgment of members on the committee because of the evidence presented in the article. And I think that is an improper bridge between what you do with your own time reading outside press sources and the job of being on the committee and determining the guilt of people. On the charge of the investigation, my concern with that, again, wasn't that I thought they were going to be automatically impeached because they were being investigated. It was that the reasoning offered put a standard of proof for going through the investigation that literally said that any baseless accusation could warrant an investigation. When I say baseless, I mean in the literal sense that there's no basis in evidence other than the existence of the accusation itself.
But there's,
Clearly, if
for the formation of the committee, I don't mean to interrupt you like that, but there is no evidence that is provided before the accusation. Like, so along with, the way our statutes are written is that I bring accusations to Mr. Aldridge here, and that's all I can bring to him. And then the Senate has 3 sponsors, continues onward from there, and then the whole point of the committee is to find evidence. So like, I see what you're arguing about, and I understand, but it's just, you can't argue both sides is the only thing I'm concerned about. You can't ask, like, they didn't give me any evidence, but then they asked for evidence. Like, you can't have both sides of the argument.
no, I understand. I'm not saying even if the formation of the committee couldn't be based on that, but that they were willing to move forward with the investigation when they've literally said that there's no basis in these allegations other than their existence was somewhat concerning to me. And finally, on the point that you brought up earlier or that Corrector for Albert brought up about the outside section of the case. Again, my concern there was that it had evidenced a predisposition towards the guilt of the court. The words that the senator said was, I think that there's some fishy things going on with this court. Somebody outside of the investigation that clearly, to me, indicates that she already believes that there are fishy things going on in the court without like the evidence of the investigation, like the way you said. So,
Senator Bloomers.
I would actually like to see evidence regarding this allegation. I think it's very unsupported allegation that I said such a thing. I would like to see evidence.
Okay, just Senator Yulo, your hand is off.
I've had a couple questions in this statement. The first thing was, you said that the agenda was about 24 hours before your public record.
Yes.
Can you tell me how you did that up? I'm just curious.
I didn't. It was the first meeting. President Pro Tempore called the first meeting, so he's here to answer your question.
It was sent. It was sent Wednesday at 2 p.m.
Fine. Can I just ask who it was sent out to? Because you said it was public because the agenda was sent out, but how does that make the meeting public?
Same concept of committees. Like, I don't want to be that guy, but it's the same concept of committees.
And Senate meetings.
And it was also posted on the conference room door. That this meeting.
I was clarifying. I just wanted to question because he asked the question. The next thing was, this is a point of clarification. The impeachment is the actual impeachment of it. It doesn't mean to remove office. So you guys have impeached him already? You remove him from office.
No, sir. The impeachment is something you will vote on soon down the lines. So this is just an investigation.
And the next thing I have questions about like the members on the impeachment committee, because when we were selecting committees, it was said that we wanted committee members that have nothing to do with either party, and one of the members on the committee said that they weren't on either of the candidate's party, and I have evidence that they are in Facebook groups for the candidate and post about it, and that makes me very question the accusations and unbiasedness of the committee, because they're willing to lie and say that they weren't that in interrogation and question and answer. It makes me question the unbiased, and I have pictures here if Mr. President, but I'm just questioning that. Not only that, but those that signed the impeachment were also on the same party, and there's pictures of that too supporting it. And I wonder how biased that's going to be for a candidate, because that was something that was discussed during selecting the impeachment committee. People who are on certain candidates' parties for the elections, and how that's going to affect the actual impeachment committee. And I just want to make sure that everything is unbiased and everything is going as it should. I have, if you would like to see the pictures and stuff.
Senator Brown.
I apologize first of all for the outbreak, for the outburst, but I'm infuriated by what I've learned. I demand that Mr. D is up.
Mr. Gresham, I'm sorry. Zucker?
Yeah, kind of piggybacking off of that, would there be any way to request complete and open transparency of the committee's reports to the student body?
Yes, sir. We can have them posted as soon as we have the minutes for them. And they will be posted, so. Yeah. Would you like to be added to their agenda list, if that helps you? All right. Senator Kempton.
Okay, so what Senator Brown brought up is really, really serious. I don't even know, like, I would just like, I would like to hear his like answer or something about what was just said, because that's pretty crazy, guys. I don't know if anyone would feel that way. Like, blackmail and giving kind of house parties. Like, I would like to hear something. I'd like to hear what
I mean, up to. Senator Cullen.
I just have a procedural question. How long is this committee going to be formed? Like, is there an actual statute limit?
There is no timeline statute whenever the committee thinks that they're ready to present a report or to present the final investigation results, then we will do so. I do advise, and actually I'm confident that the committee will take as long as necessary to make sure that the investigation is done properly.
So this could go into like summer and 55th term and stuff like that?
I believe so, yeah.
Okay, I just wanted to know.
It's disbanded at the end of this term. With the end of our, yes, there it is.
So could I
It's
get clarification on that?
These people would not, she would not be a senator. The other two would be, but I mean the committee would be dissolved.
You would have, if I can't, I don't believe there's anything statutory about that. I only believe that if someone is to graduate, then there would have to be a vacancy in that committee. So unless there's a specific statute or RP that says differently, I don't believe there's any. They're 99% sure there is no time limit for how long the impeachment committee can last.
Okay. I was just echoing Mr. Rankin, who was not. Okay.
The term's over after all this business of this administration is over. The new administration is over. But it's just like a regular Senate. And it's gonna roll up. And it's beautiful.
Sure.
So, clarification, it's ending.
Well, it's no different. Let me just parallel something we actually do have, which is an ASRC committee. If the ASRC bill is not fulfilled or signed through, so the thing you see tonight, if it's not completed, there's a new ASRC that meets to finish the job of that ASRC.
Okay.
Senator Brown.
I yield my time to Senator Aziz, and you can.
Well, the only reason why I'm trying to hold off is the accusers are not allowed to have anything to do with this report. So I'll let them talk right after this report is over, if that makes sense. Just because our statutes say the accusers and the accused will not have, they don't have speaking or voting rights during the actual process. That's the only reason why I'm holding off until after, if you don't mind. If not, you can just vote to suspend that statute. So I'll repeat your statute.
I will wait.
Sure. Thank you. Anything else about the report? Cool. Thank you, ma'am. Moving on. ASRC final bill.
On a much lighter note, hopefully. Okay, guys, don't worry, it's only 14.6, I believe, something like that, million. Okay, so University of South Florida Student Senate SB A 54084 Activities and Service Fee Annual Allocation for the fiscal year of 2014-2015. You want to go to the presentation?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, guys, so
Hold on. There you go.
So this is kind of the main selling point for Senate. When you are running for Senate, the first thing they tell you is you're going to be allocating $14.1 something million, and you're like, yeah, I want to be part of that. And so this is it. You're being part of it right now, so please pay attention. If you have any questions, I ask that you kind of save them, write them down maybe. So, you know, the committee, ASRC, Activities and Service Fee Recommendation Committee, if you don't know what that means. Oh, before we start, I want to ask everybody who was in the committee to please stand up. Thank you so much. They have been the most amazing committee. So snaps for them.
all the wrong questions. They were very adamant in allocating the money correctly, and for that, I truly appreciate it. So moving right along, our funding source. We have $12,991,597 come from the ANSP projections for the 2014-2015 year. This is an estimate based on last year's ANSP. So other than that, we have unallocated cash and sweepbacks. You hear a lot of this during this year. That's what we use the full stock edition money for, etc., stuff like that. So that's $1,678,621. Total allocation is $14,670,218. And what we actually allocated was almost that much, $14,665,073. So questions so far? Okay, fine. Hold on to your questions. Next, total allocation. Student Affairs Department. Okay, so how this works is there are kind of 4 entities here. We'll go through them one by one. And this is kind of just the broad overview of what's been allocated. I've put down what we've allocated in 2013-2014 year, and then for this year's allocation. So Student Affairs Department, we've allocated $10,063,910 this year, as opposed to the 9.6 some million last year. We have Student Government. We've allocated $2,805,106, as opposed to the 2.6 some million last year. We have the interim and reserve accounts. So that's kind of where interim budget is. What else? You'll see. I'll go through it in detail. So that's $1,049,100. And then student organizations, we are at $746,957. And that includes sports club councils and College of Medicine. Okay, so again, the grand total, 14.6 something million. Moving along, Student Affairs. These are all the Student Affairs departments that we funded. Go through them one by one. Oh, you guys know? Yeah.
One by one,
Okay.
please.
So I'll go through the department name. I'll tell you kind of what they do if you don't know. I'll tell you how much they were allocated, and then we can move on. Campus Rec. These guys are pretty cool. They have a gym, they have a track, they have a bunch of things. There's a lot of physical recreational activities involved, and so this is what they are mainly focused on. $2,882,147 this year. Then we have Veteran Services. So this entity is mainly focused on providing services for veterans that that kind of is exclusive to veterans. At the same time, they do provide services that are available to the entire student body. So $29,619. Next, we have CSI, Center for Student Involvement. This is where all your student orgs are, your hype. They do kind of advertising for student orgs. There's, a bunch of different things involved in it. If there's anything, just, Actually, don't save your questions. Just ask me right now. It's so much easier.
Mr. Bruce.
Okay, so I was just wondering, when it comes to these allocations, do these certain programs and services ask for a set amount and then you decide, or?
If you want to see a sample budget,
Would you like to?
yeah.
That's okay.
So to answer your question, yes, they ask for a specific number. There's a base allocation, so that's what they get kind of every year repeatedly. So that's utilities, operating capital outlay, which is basically like big ticket items, like if you want to buy a printer or like stuff like that. The costs of the telephones, some departments need telephones. That's every year, that's a base request. Then we have new initiatives, which they request as extra. So they kind of propose it to the committee discusses it, sees whether it's necessary and reasonable to fund it through the ANSP, and if it is, then this committee decides to fund it. So this is kind of an example. This is veterans services. This is what they were expended. This is what they were allocated last year. This is what they were allocated this year. And each sheet you see here is a specific item that they've requested. So this is the new initiative summary here. They don't request anything. This is payroll. You can see it over like 3 years fiscal period. So, you know, there is kind of, we're going off of something, but yeah.
Thank you.
I don't know if you want to see the rest.
Any other questions?
Okay. Senator Hopkins.
My question was regarding the fraternity and sorority life. If that's something that like students join and they pay their own dues, why is it that they get so much money if they don't? I mean, I haven't really like if they don't serve the student population, they serve a set amount. Why is it that they're getting student annual fees?
So to answer your question, what's being funded here, and I will get to it once we move along, but the fraternity and sorority life serves the entire campus, including both fraternity, sorority members and non-members. So they do host events, like for example, they have Anti-Hazing Week. That serves everybody on campus. And so that is why we believed it was ANS fundable. There were some items on their request that were kind of limited. They wanted, for example, to travel. And it was believed by the committee that only people who were part of a sorority or a fraternity could travel. And so that was not funded. So stuff like that. It's just, it is open to everybody, which is why the activities and service activities and service fee could go to it.
Right, their mission is just go Greek, not pick one. Senator Yellow.
I can follow up on that. I could be wrong, but a lot of that chunk is staff, is it not?
Mhm.
A lot of the directors that oversee not only them, but making sure they're following university policies, but it's not really programming more.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh.
Is the money for the renovation of the first floor of the library in there? And if so,
Well, okay,
So
that CITF, Capital Improvement Trust Fund, that's a completely separate fee. It's like a segregated fee. So I mean, you won't see it on here. I can't actually. I can talk to you afterwards if you like. Okay.
Okay, so I guess kind of going back to the beginning of all this, the activities and service fee is supposed to take care of activities and services that are relevant to the campus, as opposed to any kind of academic geared items. So that's a different topic completely. Moving right along, we have Center for Student Involvement, $471,300. Again, these are the student orgs, these are the hype offices. I don't know, they do a lot of programming, they do like multicultural week, stuff like that. Then you have Campus Traditions. So Campus Traditions, Campus Activities Board, Center Gallery, University Lecture Series, and and the Center for Student Involvement are all part of the Center for Student Involvement kind of activities. So Campus Traditions includes homecoming. It is mainly the homecoming. Putting on homecoming. It also includes a lot of other programming events that occur on campus. So this is $412,134. Then we have Campus Activities Board. This is again more.
Senator Yellow, I just want to make sure it's clear.
Is TechSmart under the CSI budget?
No.
TechSmart.
TechSmart's under special projects.
Yeah.
Senator Priest.
Okay, so a lot of questions I have probably looking into but so when we're seeing like cuts to things, is it mostly because they have like new initiatives or anything?
Okay, so cuts are due to two things. One, actually they're completely unrelated things. Sometimes we do fund new initiatives and cut from the base request, and other times we don't fund new initiatives and we cut from base requests, stuff like that. So it just depends on what you're looking at. Sometimes we feel like, I don't know specifically if you have an example that you were looking at, but maybe Campus Traditions, maybe we felt the programming was being excessive, or we looked at the spending and they didn't spend all of the money they were allocated last year. And so we didn't feel it was necessary to allocate for this item, whereas we could have allocated for another item on the bill. Okay? Cool.
Senator Kalin.
Going back to what you just said about if they didn't spend money or not, do they keep that money? Does it get returned to us?
That gets swept back into unallocated as well. And so going back, 1, 2, unallocated cash and sweep backs.
Okay.
Right there.
Senator Yullo.
For the Candidates Traditions tab, that seems, I mean, if I'm looking at it right, we cut 6,000 from last year. I know we gave, we used unallocated cash to give more towards their Candidates towards this year. Was that an allocation from last year, or is that separate, and how does that affect the budget that you're using?
Okay, so your question is two-part. The first part, I believe, is actually this year from unallocated, we added to the Center for Student Involvement. That was
for the USF Week and ULS.
Was it CAB? Yeah, it was CAB.
CAB for, yeah.
CAB was for the USF Week, is what we added.
And ULS for ULS. Obviously.
And then ULS was for the ULS part of USF Week. So I would say this, actually the Campus Traditions used to be named Homecoming Committee, Steering Committee, and so mainly it's homecoming what you're looking at. So CAB is what you're thinking of. The second part of your question, that money is completely unrelated to next year's money. This is for next year's Bull Stuff, next year's, so 2015 Bull Stuff, 2015, whatever they have week, USF Week. Okay, cool. Any other questions so far? Okie dokie. Moving on. We have CAB, which is Campus Activities Board. Again, they do things like Winter Wonderland, I believe, is one of them. Other things like that for campus. Not as large as homecoming, but kind of in the middle ground.
Bulls Night Out.
Bulls Night Out every couple weeks. Every Tuesday.
Things too.
Every other Tuesday, something like that. So $533,843 was this year's allocation. Again, the increase was due to a lot of new initiatives, I believe. Maybe. Center Gallery. This is the second floor of the Marshall Center. There's this cool gallery. If you haven't seen it yet, check it out. It's really cool. A lot of artsy stuff. This year's allocation is $16,430. University Lecture Series. This is where we bring in speakers, keynote speakers. Last year we brought in like John Legend, I believe. Other things like that. And so $257,792 this year. Then we have the Marshall Student Center, where we are located. $2,915,128 this year. A slight increase, well, $200,000 increase from last year, about, give or take. Questions so far?
Cool.
Moving along, Multicultural Affairs, $389,275. Multicultural Affairs is for, I think they actually do the Multicultural Week. They do
iFest.
iFest is the big one, which is International Fest. So, yeah, Center for Leadership and Civic Engagement, first floor of the Marshall Center. They do a lot of campus kind of outreach, leadership, and volunteering events. There's Gandhi Day they do. They also do, what's the big one? Stampede of Service. So $490,621. Then we have Esgato, our lovely student government advising and training and operations office. $262,388. This is Gary Minka, Jessica Morgan, etc. Everybody who's there to advise the student government. New Student Connections, $233,081. This is for those new students who wish to become more involved on campus. And again, they put on a lot of events for new students, transfer students, stuff like that. Fraternity and Sorority Life, we already kind of touched on about this, but $255,404. And again, they do host, like Mr. Patel said, their mission is Go Greek, so they do host a lot of events that encourage students to consider fraternity and sorority life. Students with Disability Services, $22,101. This service provided for those students who require additional services to kind of ease their way in university. And so then we have Dean for Students. This was funded at $74,704. Dean for Students is a service that acts as an advocate for the student body If you have any kind of concerns, you can go to him for that. Career services, 100, oh, this was a new initiative that was added on. They've requested it in the past, they requested it last year and it was not funded, again, due to limited funds. But this year it was funded $165,042. Career services is, the part that was funded here was kind of additional services that would be added to ease the transition from academic life to postgraduate life and kind of real world job experience.
Senator Belzer?
Okay, so my question was back to the first student office. Why was there such a big cut in the first like 300?
So that would be the cut from the actual position itself. I'm speaking because I'm on the committee. So that'd be the cut from the position itself. There's no longer the salary of Dr. Freeman on there anymore, nor is his staff. This is only for the half of Ms. McDonald, who we pay for her transition efforts in CSI.
Can you kind of provide a reason why?
Sure. So we thought,
Wait,
go ahead.
Freeman is no longer like here, or
No, he's here. So we're not funding him through the ANS fee anymore because, at least to a certain degree, it wasn't deemed appropriate. Originally, they weren't going to do any of it, and we had, well, the only reason why there's even anything in here is because we have moved Miss McDonald from CSI, where she was, her halftime, back into Dean of Students because we have a line item for it. Or else it would just be, other than programming. So I believe he does respectable and campus safety are the two things we funded for underneath there, and then office supplies. But yeah, we don't have his payroll anymore. Because of our MOA, so the MOA is something else we'll see later on tonight. The MOA decides on what our stipulations are to fund for, and 1 year is our probationary period for having to fund somebody. So with the dean being only funded for a year so far, we can now pull out of funding the dean for this year without any kind of an issue or a problem, with no breaking of MOA. And so that's something we actually decided to do as a committee.
MOA stands for Memorandum of Agreement.
And Senator Love.
Memorandum of Agreement.
Senator Love.
So back on that, so essentially, we're just not paying a salary, so the school is going to pay the tax. Essentially, is that what it is?
Another service.
Sorry.
Another kind of fee will pay for it. So
E&G will probably pay for it because honestly, once you have hired the person, the university is obliged to pay for them out of rationale. And so the university does have the funds to be able to do it. Like, they'll obviously have to pull a lot of strings and go tap into reserves to do it, but they'll have to figure out how they want to get the money for it in the long run.
Okay. Any other questions so far? Cool. Moving along, we have careers. I already talked about this one, and then SASE assessment, which is the
Shared Student Services Center.
Okay, basically this is like Esgato in HR. Kind of, I don't want to make any unreasonable connections here, but you can think of it as kind of HR or
ASBO and everybody.
ASBO for all the departments. So right now, like for example, student government doesn't do their own timesheets. We have Esgato, Ms. Tammy Dixon, who does our timesheets for us. If all of these people were to do their own timesheets, imagine how much hassle, how much time that takes from their actual responsibilities. So there is a whole department that does that for them, including money, things, etc. So $652,901 was for that. Again, almost a little bit of increase from last year, but not that much. Any other questions about this section? So this is just the, again, student affairs per departments. This is the biggest chunk of it, 10 million of it, almost more. Questions about this? Perfect, moving along, we have student government. This is us. First we have the ANS business office. These are the people who take care of all our student organizations when they want to put in POs, when they want to travel, when they want, actually that's the travel office. But anyway, stuff like that. So this was $561,156. We have conference presentation grant program. This is when students want to travel for conferences to present. The university provides this service. We, as the UNSP, people provide that service. So $265,000 for that. And we have FSA, which is Florida Student Association. This is a membership for student government to be part of the Florida Student Association. It kind of gives us a little bit of benefits, keeps us in touch with other universities' student governments. That's $5,300. General fund, that is everything that goes to all departments. So to all legislative, judicial, and executive. So that's $57,176. Questions so far?
Oh, Senator Rodriguez.
Can you give a more specific example of something that would fall into the general fund, please?
We have we have the printer that's in the middle right here, like the coffee that place. The coffee and stuff does fall in general fund. Your name tags fall in general fund. Polos, padfolios, and I believe just general office supplies. Yeah, like everything you guys have you. Okay, so there's that locker in Miss Tammy's area. I believe all of that was paid for by general fund. But it's essentially everything that any branch can use, and that actually a lot of student orgs use as well. They just walk in and take stuff. Yeah.
Any other questions?
Senator Moore.
I just, when I see special projects and has an uptick, I just want to know what that
So to answer your question, next we have special projects. This is $667,217. So was this because of the? Do you remember?
I wasn't there for special projects. Yeah, if you pull it up, just continue onwards and I'll actually.
Yeah. After I finish this presentation, keep a hold of your question and remind us to answer it because we can't. Next we have Election Rules Commission. They were allocated $34,497. This is the entity that takes care of elections, midterm, fall,
Runoff, special, everything.
Special, normal elections, all of the elections. So this is what this is. Safe Team, $431,529. These are the people that go around at night when you're feeling unsafe and they pick you up and take you to where you need to go. SG Computer Services, this is your printing services. No, this is
SGCS.
running the print. This is kind of running that area.
It's SGCS and all their stuff.
So downstairs, first floor.
And second floor.
And second floor. $166,721. And we have W Bull Radio. This is Bull's Radio. They do a lot of things. Actually, we have a couple people in this room who had their own show a couple days ago. So, shout out to that. $141,032. Then we have the three branches. First, Judicial. They have $52,499. This is the branch that takes care of all the judicial type things, parking appeals, any trials, all that fun stuff that comes up. Next we have Executive Branch, $208,183. This is our lovely president, vice president, and all of their staff. Then we have legislative, and their programming. And we have Legislative Branch, which is us, the Senate, $140,596. This takes care of all of your chairs, president, pro tempore, and your programming, as well as a lot of little. Then we have USF Day at the Capitol. Again, this occurred recently. I believe it was February, March, something recently. Senators and students go up to Tallahassee, lobby for things they believe in. $74,200. So the grand total for student government is $2,805,106. Question?
Another question?
It's the same question.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah, sorry. Here, we'll pull it up.
Special
Yeah.
projects that,
I have, yeah, I have Peter up right here.
hi.
Mr. Aldridge, you can go ahead.
The USF Days with the Bucks tickets were used to be either allocated cash or something that was like used from basically leftover funds we had. So this year was used, I think, auxiliary account that we have. But it was now put in special projects to keep that consistent from year to year. So I mean, that's about $45,000. Other than that, and that includes the tickets, all the food, the tailgate stuff, buses if they're needed. Other than that, I think there's maybe there are minimal increases. There's an increase for bull market for food and materials, and $1,000 for maintenance for like plaques or statues that the student government has in person. So that should be all of what the increase was.
Wait. Oh. Do you want?
Yeah.
Senator Norman.
You mentioned that the print shop was in there as well?
The print shop.
It's right here. SG TechSmart. Right here in this line item.
So what is that exactly fund for that?
Huh?
What is that exactly fund for that since we still have to pay technically license for maintenance funds?
Well, so 240,000 of it goes directly to the IT free print contract. I believe it's verbatim one of it. So it goes to the free print contract, and then the other 80,000 actually goes to TechSmart. And so we actually have, I don't know if you guys want me to go into depths with this, but we have a contract with IT, and they manage all the printers across campus. I know Mr. Hausman's still doing the math work on it, but we'll have a list of where the printers are for you. But what they do is they manage those printers. They're all RICO printers that they have to maintain. And then we have the service contracts for them, so they handle all that kind of stuff. They refill the papers. They cycle them in case they're being used too much or abused or what have you. And then we have TechSmart, which is the printing downstairs for like orgs. The 80,000 goes into paying for every org to have ANS funded prints.
And that's Greek and non-Greek.
Right, it's no different than the Marsh Center is free for Greek and non-Greek students, even though the ANS fee is what goes to paying for everybody. So I mean, the whole premise is that, yeah, they're Greek, but they've still paid into the ANS fee, and so it's just for free print. So like, you don't know what I use for my free prints. Like I could be printing obscene words and things like that, which would not be sponsored by the ANS fee, but the fact that they're my prints and I printed with them is the difference. You get it? Like, it's just the fact that it's a free print. Cool. Senator Yellow.
Just on that topic, so does that mean we're giving essentially clubs and organizations special privileges to print mass things that regular students couldn't have to not afford these organizations?
Well,
is that what TechSmart essentially is like?
if you'd like to title it as, or if you'd like to define it as such, that's fine. The whole premise is that anyone can join any org, and we also use that in consideration while we're funding every org. We say like, hey, their flyers, their printouts, all that kind of stuff, they can get from TechSmart, and so we won't be funding for general marketing, flyers, stuff like that. I think so.
Okay.
Oh, Senator Harper.
So is any of that money used to reduce the cost students pay if they were to have something printed?
If you could clarify what you're actually...
Like if I came to TechSmart to have something printed and I'm not a part of the student organization, I would still have to pay because it's not coming from the student board budget.
Yeah, this doesn't give you any discount.
Okay.
Yeah. From the gallery, if you could just state your name, stand and...
My name is Ahmed Yusuf. I'm Can we ask questions?
You may. You can go.
So for the USF Day at the Capitol, does that money cover their travel grant, or they have to apply for a travel grant?
Well, we actually have our correspondent, Miss
I
Emily.
planned that this year. The money goes...
If you could just stand, Emily.
Sorry. The money goes to everything for the day. So it includes the travel up there. It includes, any decorations or anything we need. It encompasses paying for our governmental affairs firm that we hire to help give us the meetings. It's basically an investment saying we're going to go to Tally and then we're going to tell them what we need so we can go meet with legislators and everything like that. So it covers all of it. So you don't need any extra expenses.
Mr. Thomas. Oh, that's from the gallery as well, Mr. Benjamin Thomas.
Sorry.
question is, the budget that you have there for the SAFE team, is that for their current level of operations, or would you have to increase the budget to increase the operations throughout the day?
Right, that's for, they start at 6:30 and end at 2:30.
Correct.
So that is the, right, exactly, and so this is the budget they need to operate every day for that cycle.
Well then, what that being said, it was brought to my attention by the students with disabilities to make requests to school government to increase their hours of operation. So what that means is that you have to increase the funding.
It's one thing you had to run by Safe Team first to see if they even have the capability to run it past that length, which I don't see there being much of a problem with it. But they also have the ability to request more from interim as the executive branch, because they are entities of the executive branch. They will have the, actually, I don't know, well, roughly entities of the executive branch. They will have the ability to request more money once the fiscal year starts. If that makes sense. And so those concerns can be brought up to the next, and you, Mr. Coco, will be happy to take your concerns. And so when he's actually structuring, and Mr. White as well, structuring their agencies, they can take all those into consideration and increase their requests based off of that.
That particular budget that we're discussing right now, is that for this semester or next semester?
This is for starting July 1st onwards until next year. So it's 2014, 2015. Their current money is already allocated, already being used. Good stuff. Thank you, sir. Question? Senator O'Day.
So just to bounce off of what you said, why is there a decrease for the safety budget?
There was a significant, I believe, cut in the number of individuals who were operating the safety machinery, so the golf carts. At the same time, there was an increase in new initiative called Tap Ride, which would kind of expedite the process of the whole safety team experience. So shorter, like they'd be able to know where people were at, stuff like that. So it's just a give and take. If you really want to look into the details of it, we could pull up the budget. But that's kind of an overview. Well, any other questions?
All right, moving on.
Moving on to the next thing, student organizations. So this is student councils, sports clubs, College of Medicine, and other student organizations. Student councils only encompasses the operations of the sports club council, which is $45,236. Next, we have sports clubs themselves. So what happens is we as a ASRC committee do not know how sports clubs operate. We cannot estimate the cost of a canoe or a racquetball court or whatever. Any type of stuff like that, we cannot estimate that cost. So there's a committee, a council, who allocates that money, and we just give them a lump sum of money, and they allocate it appropriately. They do have a process, deadlines, just like we do in ASRC and appropriations and Senate as a whole. So $230,000 for sports clubs, and we have College of Medicine. This is a new entity. Actually, it's been renamed the College of Medicine Allocation Committee, COMAC. This is for those organizations that fall under COMAC. Again, we don't know the operations of the College of Medicine organization. They require sometimes supplies, first aid kits, like dummies, like stuff like that. We don't know how much those things cost. We don't have time to look it all up, and so we give that entity money and they allocate it appropriately. Again, they also have deadlines, stuff like that. $84,000. Then we have all our other student organizations. This includes organizations such as the Society of Automotive Engineers, the, Pre-Medical Society, Surf Club. That one's my favorite. They never testing lawyers here. But anyway, so $387,721 for a grand total of $46,957. Questions?
And real quick, I think that the $387,000 number is for about 215 to 220 student organizations, I believe. Since some of them were not able to meet. 218. So, Senator Larkins.
On the overall budget that you guys sent out yesterday, on some of those student organizations, they had like a diamond next to their name or an asterisk. What does that mean?
if you scroll down in the end of that, and we'll actually take a look at the bill and right now, the bill's right there. If you scroll down, I specify exactly what the asterisk, star, and then the little cross thing, what they mean. So the asterisk was student organizations that didn't request money this year, or they didn't submit one in time. Then we have this little star thing, no, the little plus sign thing. And then these people, they put in a budget, but they didn't meet with us. And so, or they had problems with their constitution and they failed to fix it. And so we can't give those student organizations funding, unfortunately. And then we have this little diamond thing. And these are people who, they erroneously submitted their budgets twice. So they submitted it to us as well as the College of Medicine Allocation Committee. And so College of Medicine Allocation Committee already allocated their funds, kind of. They already have a breakdown of what they're requesting for, and so they can't double dip, kind of. Okay?
Senator Bell's there.
My question, okay, so my question was, I guess I didn't get a clear, so can you tell me the difference between student council and sports clubs? I feel like we did that in, like, we kind of did.
Student councils is two things: the College of Medicine Allocation Committee and the Sports Club Council. Okay? The thing is, College of Medicine Allocation Committee, COMAC, doesn't require money to operate. They don't do programming, they don't do anything. Well, I mean, like, they allocate money, but they don't have any programming costs. So this amount is only for SCC. And that is for the council itself, as opposed to here where it's for the clubs themselves. Cool? Any other questions?
And real quickly, there's also the reason there's a difference between the College of Medicine Allocation Committee. If there's any groups from that area on campus that want to come during the interim process, they come straight to Senate. But for the sports clubs, they go ahead and go to the council. So part of that $45,000 in the council's budget is for the interim funding. So that's why the number seems maybe a little higher than usual. Can you state your name again for the record? Sorry.
I'm Matthew Youssef.
Okay, go ahead.
Can an organization appeal their budget?
They,
like if they get less than what they deserve?
Okay, so how this works is we go through all the budgets, we allocate our funds. I send out mock budgets and I give the organizations a deadline on when they can appeal. So there is an appeals process. Then they have a deadline to submit either a written appeal or a face-to-face appeal. Once they submit that appeal within the deadline, then we take a look at it again. Those numbers can increase, decrease, or remain the same. It is not guaranteed to increase, as has been communicated to the student orgs. And then after that, there is no appeals. So you only get one chance to appeal. Cool?
and that process happens during spring break. So we finished on the Friday before spring break. The chair sent out, or the chair at least sent out a first email either Saturday or Sunday after that meeting. And then we had until the week after spring break for those organizations to submit appeals to us. Are there any other questions?
Cool. Next we have the interim account. Oh, you have.
I'm sorry. Oh, Senator Cannon.
I don't know, I guess Mr. Zucker had a copy of the last year's bill.
It's on the motion.
On here, it says that the student organization total was, for 2013-2014 allocation was $666,000. Or, yeah, and that is clearly not what it says.
Is that taking into account all four of these categories? Because it very likely does not take into account one of those two.
It would just be for the bottom three, I believe.
Yeah.
Because this one doesn't have the other student organizations.
Yep.
Or none of the student councils. Okay.
Yeah, the bill is broken up two different ways. It's broken up this way, and the copy it's also broken up just the councils and then everyone else. So that's what it was. The 666,000 was everyone else other than the councils last year. Any other questions on student organizations? All right.
Okay, perfect. Moving on to interim accounts. We have, again, these are the accounts that are used throughout the fiscal year. So first is interim funding. This is what the Appropriations and Audits Committee uses. So executive branch can request from it. Student organizations who missed the deadline or did not request in time for annual funding can request from it. And so this is $159,000. Then we have the Expo grant. This is for Engineering Expo. Student organizations can request additional funds in order to be part of Engineering Expo, $42,400. Then we have Homecoming grant. This is to, again, student organizations request money to put on floats, etc. as part of Homecoming. This is $26,500. Then we have the travel grant. Student organizations who want to go on a travel expedition can request money if they are not presenting and if it is relevant to that organization. And so that's $159,000. Then we have signature event grants. Student organizations have the option to host signature events with other organizations. This is $21,200. And then we have other reserve accounts. This is a total of $650,000. This is just kind of leftover in case we needed money. So I believe last year we used this for the elevator, is that correct?
The 650,000?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So last year, the Marshall Center elevator broke, and so we needed this money to fix it. And so that's kind of where it's like critical, dire need type of items. So that is a grand total of $1,058,100. And going back to the first total, we are at $14,665,073. Question. I'll go back to this. Questions about interim account?
Senator Bellazer.
Okay, so my question is, I saw the homecoming grant for super organizations was cut a lot, so I just wanted to know like why did they not be used or?
So it was brought to our attention by the committee, which was the special funding. The Expo grant, Homecoming grant, Signature Event grant, and Travel grant was for is special funding committee. And it was brought to our attention that student organizations were not using all of that funds, and it would be better directed to be used elsewhere. And so we believe $26,500 was enough money for them all to have appropriate float. If we run out next year, again, they'll have the option to increase that in the following year, but it's just consistently for the past couple years not been reaching 40,000, which is what it was at before.
I think for each of the last 2 years, the amount was somewhere between maybe about 10,000, 15,000. It wasn't even close to 25 either. So the committee went back and forth on some numbers that would be sensible as a reduction, but still have enough organizations that have the opportunity. And 25,000 is what it was, plus overhead comes out to 26,500.
Okay.
Sorry.
No, you're good. Any other questions? Okay.
Any other questions? Okay.
So I guess we could take a look through the bill real quick. It's the same thing, just more condensed. The PowerPoint is more condensed. So
Where do you want to start?
do you want
Do you want to read? Oh, I'll take a motion to read the bill. Senator Bellazer.
Motion to read SBA 4084.
All right, any objections to reading the bill? All right, see none.
Okay, so a Senate appropriation bill. Be it enacted by the Senate of the University of South Florida Student Government Assembled that the following entities be allocated activities and service fee funds for the fiscal year 2014-2015 as follows. $10,063,910 for student programs and services, $2,805,106 for student government operations, $1,049,100 for interim and reserve accounts, and finally $746,957 for student organizations, for a total of $14,665,073 for the A&S allocation for this year. Okay. Again, everything is more outlined in detail. This is the bill you just saw. This is student programs or departments, student government. We have interim account, student organizations, the totals. Okay. So the memorandum, read it.
If you want to. Okay. This is just going to be something that's going to be addressed to, obviously, you see the people on there. It's the breakdown of what the fee is. And obviously, these next pages will go through some of the same numbers that you saw earlier.
Okay, so I guess I could just read this paragraph.
Sure.
In the following document, we'll find a summary breakdown and recommendations of the ASRC. It will be organized as follows: student programs and service allocations, student government operation allocations, student organization allocations, interim and reserve account allocations, activity and service fee, 2014-2015 budget overview, and then finally we have the MOA, the Memorandum of Agreement. So collectively, the following documents represent the hard work and dedication of a committee of both students and advisors belonging to ASRC, whom have dedicated almost half of the year of their time to this budget process. However, these allocations could not have been made possible without the cooperation and dedication of the Division of Student Affairs, as well as over 200 student organizations that requested a budget allocation this fiscal year. And so this budget reflects a fair and viewpoint neutral allocation that will ensure the continuation of exponential services and programs to the USF student body. Without hesitation, I encourage this bill's authorization, and of course I will hopefully sign this. Again, it's all outlined and super detailed down here. You can just look at it.
Okay.
Yeah, this is exactly what you saw, just a little bit less condensed. And then here is a list of all the student organizations that were funded. You can just go swoop through it. Again, there's an asterisk, a plus sign, and a little diamond thing that tell you why things were not funded or why they were changed. Just keep going. Okay, and then this is just the overview document. Fine. And the MOA, the Memorandum of Agreement. So I think I have to read this, right?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay, guys, just hang in there. Any questions about the budget bill?
Sarah, you go on.
Is this questions about the bill itself or the budget itself?
Okay.
So while looking at the bill, or I only briefly looked through just two amounts. Society of Automatic Engineers is allocated at $66,000. I feel that's really heavy for one club, considering a lot of the other organizations were not. I don't think any was funded above 10,000, maybe even above 8,000. So I feel this is a lot. Can you explain why it was funded so much?
Sure. So we have two, actually, kind of correct that. There is another organization that is funded above 11,000, I believe, the MSA, Muslim Student Association. So the first student organization, the SAE, which you mentioned, consistently demonstrates use of the funds, which is something we consider in the committee. Again, they require a lot of automotive type of materials. They also have a significant amount of subsidy from outside sources. I think they get $100,000 or $150,000 from outside sources. So taking into account their entire history and their entire use of the money, it was deemed necessary. I mean, not just necessary, it was deemed appropriate to fund them that amount. In addition, in the past, they have been funded actually more than they were this year.
I think there might be a very slight increase, but it's
Or,
less than the
yeah.
reform.
Similar amounts at the very least. So, yeah, I mean, if you want, you can go through the budget itself, but that's kind of an explanation.
Also, I mean, just a little bit about the organization spends almost probably 10 of the 12 months of the year on developing the vehicle, the car to take to places like Canada and California. So that most of that money is for the time of the year, and they also request travel grants for when they have the, I guess, the car to be all ready to, to go. So, yeah, follow up.
So if I have another student organization that comes to me and asks me how to get it, if I tell them to spend every single dollar, so they're going to get more next year?
Okay, so what happens is we've had organizations who have spent all their money. However, it's possible for us to also see what they spend it on. So a great majority of student organizations do spend their money on food. So if we see that a student organization spent 85% of their money on their food, but they requested for automotive parts, then that's not really consistent. So what we take into account is last year's request versus spending, as well as this year's request, how much that requested events are going to benefit the student body. Is it reasonable to buy this at this price? And then even with that, we only subsidize not fully fund. So if your constituents, student organizations are asking you, how do you get more money? Put on events that are inclusive to student organizations that are most, I guess, useful to the student organization. Whether they be like physical events, etc. Okay?
So, you have follow-up?
I have my comment.
Okay. I mean, it's just, let's hold off until when we get to the rest of the questions. Senator Cannon.
I mean, I was just gonna, as somebody on the committee, I was just gonna add to what you said. For me personally, at least, when I was looking at my student organizations and figuring out how to fund them, I wasn't saying, okay, well, I want to make sure that I'm like giving everyone similar amounts of funding, whatever. What I looked at is I looked at their mission, I looked at the relevancy of what they were doing, I looked at whether they've done a good job of fulfilling that in the past, and I tried to make my decisions independent of. I wasn't sitting there considering, well, is this going to be something that ASRC can realistically afford? When I made the decisions, I was looking at it in the context of what is this relevant to the student organization's mission? Is it appropriate? Is it going to be helping them fulfill their purpose in the student body? And then assuming that later, if we went like millions of dollars over budget or something, we could work out a fair way to cut it. So we weren't trying to look at it and examine them against other student organizations. We examined each organization on open areas.
And I guess just to remind you guys, when we do this, before we begin ASRC, once we begin in the fall, we do have Esvado come in and train us on viewpoint neutrality. And so the decisions the committee has made are as close to viewpoint neutral as humanly possible. So just keep that in mind as well. Question? Okay. So now I will read to you.
Oh, you just.
Okay, so guys, now we have to read this thing. It's called the Memorandum of Agreement 2014-2015. This Memorandum of Agreement for the expenditure and allocation of the University of South Florida Student Government Budget, SBA 54084, Activities and Service Fee Annual Allocation, Fiscal Year 2014-2015, 54th Term, Spring 2014, shall govern and regulate the administration of the approved budget as signed from the date of signature by all required parties. So, Student Government Reserve Accounts. Definition. Interim funding is used to fund student organizations, programs, and activities that are initiated after the annual budget process has been completed. Interim funding is allocated according to the internal student government procedure described below and generally falls into the following expense categories: program materials, food, independent contractors, travel, office supplies, operating capital outlay, and payroll. Student organization funding is usually but not always limited to a small amount, 2,000 or less. Student organizations, student government, and activities and service fee funded, ANS funded student affairs programs and activities must abide by language contained within state law, university policy, and the student government proviso. Next, critical reserve. Serves as financial safeguard so that funds are readily available in the event of an emergency situation. The emergency situation shall be defined within student government statutes. The request shall be submitted to the Director of the Activities and Service Fee Business Office, who shall seek the joint approval of the student body president and the student senate president prior to disbursing any funds. All uses of the critical reserve will be immediately reported to the student government and legislative branch and the office of the vice president for student affairs. Unallocated reserves. As for student government statute, 804.2 must be at least 5% and not greater than 10% set aside of projected activities and service fee revenue each year to ensure that student government maintains a sound fiscal condition in the event of an extraordinary negative event. Example, enrollment shortfall. The projected revenue is provided to student government at the University of South Florida, USF Office of Budget and Policy Analysis. The unallocated reserve is not intended to be assessed on a regular basis, or any request to use the unallocated reserve must follow the procedures for interim funding outlined below. Next. Unallocated cash refers to any ANS fund fee that are generated or received between budget cycles or any balances of ANS fees swept from a previous fiscal year into the current fiscal year's allocation account. Unallocated cash is usually carried forward and allocated by the subsequent year's activities and service fee recommendation committee. However, in some circumstances, these funds may be allocated throughout the fiscal year in a process similar to the interim funding process outlined within this memorandum and reflected within student government statutes. Mr. Patel? Thank you. Okay, so the allocation procedure for the fiscal year 2014-2015. I hope you guys are keeping on. Okay, is everybody awake? Yeah. Okay, perfect. Student Government Legislative Branch Committee on Appropriations and Audits is charged with the management of all transfers between activities and service accounts as set forth by the student government statutes. The guidelines set forth are based within the student government statutes and the ROPs for the Legislative Branch Committee on Appropriations as described in Section 2B below. Once the committee has reviewed an interim funding request and recommended an allocation in the form of budget bill, the Senate votes to pass or fail the bill. If the bill is approved by the Senate, the student body president may either approve or veto the bill within 10 school days. After approval, the bill is reviewed by A&S Business Office to ensure compliance with all appropriate laws and policies, and budget transfers are processed pursuant to university procedure. If the interim request exceeds $5,000, then the Senate shall submit the bill when signed by the student body president to the vice president of student affairs or the designee. The vice president shall have 10 school days from the date of presentation of the budget to sign or veto the interim allocation and expenditure, which shall be deemed approved if no action is taken after the 10 school days. Student government shall submit to the vice president for student affairs the schedule of all interim funding allocations on a monthly basis for informational purposes. Sorry. Okay, please continue, Mr. Vidal. Okay. Section 2, guidelines for activities and service fee budget allocation and expenditure. A, all activity and service fee funded entities shall spend their allocated budgets in accordance with compliant with applicable state laws, university regulations, and the student government proviso. Section B, all A&S funded entities shall spend their budgets in strict accordance with their respective allocations subject to the flexible spending provisions as agreed to in this memorandum of agreement. Flexible spending will be defined as the ability for any A&S funded entity to spend budget authority within the categories funded. Example, food, payroll, capital outlay, operations and programming expenses, and phone. Any proposed deviations less than 5% of the budgeted category from which the transfer is requested, or the transfer of $5,000, whichever is greater, shall not require prior approval. However, the department must report the deviations to the Activity and Service Business Office, who shall in turn report it to the Student Government Legislative Committee on Appropriations and Audits. Any proposed deviations over 5% of the budgeted category from which the transfer is requested, or the activities and or the transfer of $5,000, whichever is greater, must be requested and submitted in writing to ASPO, who will then forward it to the Student Government Legislative Branch Committee on Appropriations and Audits. Committee shall have 10 school days from the day of submission of the request by the entity to review the transfer. The transfer will be deemed accepted if the Committee on Appropriations and Audits takes no action after 10 school days. The committee notifies the Appropriations Activities and Service Business Office in writing within the 10 school days time limit. Transfer shall not occur until a meeting takes place between a representative from the Committee on Appropriations and Audits and the director or designee to review the validity of the request. If at the conclusion of the Committee on Appropriations and Audits meeting, the committee determines that the transfer request violates valid business practices or university state statutes, the committee may deny the request. If the Committee on Appropriations and Audits representative is unable to meet with the department director or designee within 10 school days, the transfer will be deemed approved. Likewise, if the department director or designee does not meet or is unable to meet with the Committee on Appropriations and Audits within 10 school days, the transfer will be considered denied. C, all activities and service budget requests shall reflect all revenue, expenditure, transfers, and assessments and details, justifications of the transfer or assessment for review by the Activities and Service Recommendation Committee, i.e. ASRC, during the annual budget request process. Section D. All A&S funded departments of student affairs and the student government will, on a quarterly basis, submit a budget performance report to the Student Government Legislature Branch Committee on Probation and Audit. This report shall contain detailed expenditure, transferred and generated revenue, and shall be due within 5 days of the closing of the university quarter. Section E. The student government recognizes the university administration and the board of trustees' right to govern all matters of the university. Likewise, the university administration recognizes the authority granted to student organized government to determine the entire allocation and expenditure of all ANS money of the university and adopt internal procedures governing the operation and administration of student government. Sorry guys. The aforementioned policies shall include the execution of all duties as prescribed to student government bylaws as set forth by student statutes FS 1004.26, FS 1009.24, Section F, if a student government officer observes any financial irresponsibility or fiscal irregularity, he or she shall notify the business office. Actually, the business director. The ANS ANS director shall follow all appropriate university procedures and protocols to ensure fiscal responsibility. G. For the purpose of establishing funding eligibility as prescribed by SG, any university office department requesting ANS funding which was not funded in the preceding fiscal year shall be required to submit a memorandum to student government outlining the mission of the office or department and an explanation supporting the necessity of ANS funding for the operation of said entity in conjunction with this first-time budget request. Section H. SG retains the right to allocate funds as prescribed by applicable laws and regulations and is not obliged to fund anyone specific to entity or service. However, SG recognizes that some fiscal commitments, such as full-time staff enrollment, staff payroll allocations, require limited safeguarding for the purpose of employee retention, and organizational stability. Consequently, SG agrees not to reduce any previously funded full-time position payroll specific position line item by more than 20% of the preceding fiscal year's allocation. However, if the position is deemed inappropriate for ANS funding by SG Student Affairs, then the position may be removed. Subsection little a. SG holds the right to reduce a position more than 20%, regardless of status, with the consent from VP of Student Affairs or a supermajority vote of Senate. Okay, I. There will be a 1-year probationary period for any new position funded by ANS. SG has the option to provide continual financial support or to remove the position from ANS support. Well, and this is what happened with the Dean for Students, FYI, for those who were wondering. As Section J, additional funds generated from the interest gained from ANS monies will be allocated to the student government conference presentation grant program for additional individual travel scholarships for student professional development. The end. Okay. So that was the memo. MOA tells you how we expend our funds. Any questions about that?
No questions about the MOA? Cool.
Okay, so.
All right, yeah. Well, any questions about the bill at all? All right, so you'll have the remainder of hopefully like a week, and then some and more if you guys need it. It is only time sensitive as of your term to have this done. Again, anything you feel uncomfortable with, you just bring up in the next Senate meeting. You've all received it in your email, good stuff. Yeah, and so if you have any questions specifically, Mr. Yulo, I remember you had questions. If you'd like to address it, if not, it's fine.
I was just asking to see if we can see some reviews or something, but I know it's a lot.
All right. Yeah. So if you, so I'm just trying to, yeah. Sheila.
Is there a way to put them on maybe one of the computers in there that we can log on to and get them, or is there an easy way to do it that way? Just to review some of them?
It's really, they're too big. Like there's too many of them to be able to put in a file. He's looking for all of them. And just to clarify his question, it's to actually be able to see the budget allocation, no different than you'd see for an interim budget, so you know you get to see like the PowerPoint that says like this event, this event, this event, this many people, this many t-shirts, all that kind of stuff. I'll see what I can do, and I'll let you know as soon as I'll send out an email to everyone, figuring out how we address it. Thanks. Sir. All right. Moving on down. Senator Deletions.
Can we get to talk?
Yeah, go ahead. Oh, we'll say this is announcements. Announcements. Senator Castillo. It's inherently postponed. Oh, okay. Well, if you guys would like to take a motion, Senator Castillo.
Motion to postpone ASRC final bill for next week.
Sure. Any objections to tabling this bill until April 8th, next Senate meeting? Seeing none, it's not tabled. All right, announcement. Go ahead.
So, speaking a little bit about the impeachment, I was going to say it's not the way that I envisioned what happens, like getting the process going, but I feel that like each side is escalated in their attempts on each other, and the process has become pretty tainted at this point. So I'm going to rescind my signature or endorsement of the impeachment.
Dang it, where's the parliamentarian? It doesn't have it doesn't have page drive. Actually, I don't even know how to be able to find this. Can I take a motion for a recess just so we can go through this stuff? Senator Rowan.
Motion for 5 minute recess?
Sure. Any objections? Seeing none, we're now in recess at 8:12 p.m.
It's yours.
How long is the recess?
5 minutes. You know these people? Probably another like 20, 30 minutes. Yeah, no, so what we'll do is as soon as we address all this, we'll get to you.
Oh, I'm in no rush. I came for the student government. I actually came from Hillsborough Community College for the student government. So I went to that college to tutor people, and then I was like, crap, I gotta see meetings.
And no one pulled you over to beat your ass?
I wasn't driving. I was hiding in the back seat. There were women in the car. Had they saw me, I would have made it. Me and my brother, we started getting dark.
I just had a question regarding what, I don't know if I can ask you about what just happened.
I'm trying to figure out myself.
Okay. That was like,
I'm trying to figure out. I felt like once you file, I'm just trying to see where, like, if it has anything for it.
Trustees
I heard something about his signature.
he said he liked to resign his signature. Google. What did he say he liked to do with his signature? What did he say he
I'm trying to see if it has anything on here. Like, because that's just illegal, but we don't go by random statutes.
I'm saying, like, those Control F, what he said in there. It's out of the document that you're looking at.
Oh, that
Once my professor runs a little long, so I'll make sure I write it down.
Why would I ask for you? Regardless, is it gum?
She's in your face, so you can be like,
Sir.
I didn't know she was. I just saw your title.
Once we finish the research,
Both of you.
yeah, I'm just trying to find like statutes that defend whatever we do here. You know?
You should have.
I mean, well, long story short, I can at least tell you. So basically what happened was our organization was trying to get money. And so we had sent everything over to Zion. And they sent us back everything that they needed done and wanted down about. But then when we emailed the census student what happened was it took close to a week to get on the student like Senator Zion, or Senator Habib and Senator Abdul, they both did it immediately. And so for the members of my organization and myself, we feel like a viewpoint discrimination. Because I know that's something heavy to levy against the social security. I don't take that lightly either because I don't think like that. But the thing is, it's either the person doesn't like what they do, because the thing is, they only sent us back one rejection at a time, and it was just very dry. It felt, it's either gross inefficiency.
Is this for your constitution?
Yes, for the constitution. So, it's either gross inefficiency, or it's that someone doesn't like the message.
It's gross inefficiency. That's what I need because we don't listen to multiple at this point.
So we're not.
I used to be a bull seat, right? And so I used to have the constitutions. Dude, honestly, I'd go down there like twice a day and be like, but I have this constitution. They're like, don't get around me. I'm like,
it's just like, it kind of got to the point where I went down there and I'm like, hey, do you guys have our constitution? And she's like, well, I don't see it here. I don't see it here. So, you have to resend it.
which is Edna or the student?
The student. The thing is, I'd emailed Dr. Miller about, why it was taking so long. And basically, she's like, I appreciate your zeal, but then she gave me the spiel and it's just 2 weeks. That's why I kind of feel like there needs to be a stricter oversight. Maybe like a student-run committee.
Here's what we have. We have this thing called OMC. That's being considered right now. And the whole thing is it's like a Facebook for orgs. And so you'll be able to upload your conversation directly to there. And it's supposed to streamline everything because it's going to have like a template for you to check off and be like.
And so that way it's not having to go through.
And then even then I would never have to go see Edna to get your constitution. I would just pull it up. I'd be like, here it is.
That's on
and honestly, that's what we're trying to push for because a lot of concerns have been brought up with this. The only concern that I have that actually relates to her is that she manages 600 student organizations. I can see where her stress comes from, personally. It might just be incompetence in our eyes, but in her eyes, she's doing the best she can.
By no means being incompetent. She's helped me.
Right.
She's helped me a lot. But it's just...
Incompetence and inefficiency. Don't get me wrong, I don't mean the person. And so, again, we are trying to fix the system as much as possible. We're just waiting until the actual software rolls out.
Okay. That makes a lot more sense. Thanks. Appreciate it.
The only thing is that do you know where we're going? I'm just trying to yeah.
I was actually more concerned with can we suspend the rules for appropriations bill? It was supposed to be one reading. Which bill? Appropriations.
This is required to be one reading.
Yeah. I'm just worried about
No, we've done it. I mean, we can bring it up and say like, hey, this is, you guys would like to vote on or dismissing this. But I mean, even then, the whole consent corporation can't whatsoever. And the fact that there's an MOA also makes this legislation. Well, no, I mean, no.
Based on the way this meeting's going, I don't know for for instance, Troy just came back and might change every single thing.
No, exactly. I think he just wanted to clarify. I think he just wanted clarification. And I didn't want to like impede his justice due diligence.
No matter what, you could do a Google search and see if something comes up and
I don't think there's anything about extracting his name from that. I think the only thing they could do is based off that statement, but it's not really, I wonder if it's like, it's still blocked, he's just, it's hard something.
so I don't sometimes it's sort of hard to sort of do it on the moment.
Not resolution to not maybe. I would just, yeah, I would say that.
We can put that as an option to them on the table, like just like, hey, we're not we can ask the council how we should fit into any kind of law. But I mean, even I'm having a hard time understanding where it would be. She just say like, I don't know, it's your rules, do you?
Back where we were.
Okay, so I'm just trying to, like, I think the only option there is to disband, if that's the intent. I don't think there's a retraction, at least not outlined in the statute. You had to make that something right, you had to make it there.
What we base all of our laws on is how they do it, so it makes sense to what people graduate.
Well, no, it's no different than ASRC continues on with it. They elect a new ASRC, and you can choose to work on the same bill, which is usually like, that's the way you do it. But I mean, it's up to the committee on how they want to handle that. The Judy takes care of it. Judy takes care of it. Who will?
I'm going to go to the library to do that.
I know. No, it'll go from
peace and that's the job.
It'll go in different things. I've already been informed of where. It's beautiful. Yeah, so I don't know. What would you recommend at this point? Because we're in research trying to figure out where our tactics lay, but I honestly don't know how to
vote on to
thanks for letting me know.
Controversy and conflict and like you went to. Maybe the best match would be that everybody guilty in this kind of lack of a better word. Everybody has a hand.
Then I just don't want them to be like, if it's postponed, with the integrity of the committee, imagine it's postponed and then there's something wrong and it continues forward. Will the integrity be questioned for that week? That's the only concern I have with it. I mean, I try to teach them statutes, but if they don't want to, if they're a committee, I'm not gonna have any part in it, you know?
You'll have to decide which one you want to say, could try and start over again, but at this point, I almost think you got to enforce what you have to say.
I think those are the actual options. I don't disagree with you.
Fair at the moment, it should be read. To me, decide that why wait? If there are all these interviews and stuff, and then decide we're already going to do it, we're going to say no.
Well, I mean, they have no idea what they're going to say. None of them know anything, which is actually the way I like it. Until there's evidence to prove that they should be oblivious.
Different in a court of law. In terms of, you don't start with evidence and move forward.
Right, you start with nothing.
You start with claim, and then you check out and see if you can substantiate that.
If it is even in as junior objection where you actually because you want to be able to say that we can have our which is so yeah, I think that's right. That's the reason why there's actually you gotta see if any if it's he ran a red light, we can't really do it, nor do we really care. So
some of these issues are probably supervised responsibilities.
Yeah, I wish this was 1 month later.
I know. That's so over there. Yeah, I wish I was good.
About graduation, I know this is unrelated. We had to work with you.
Yeah. Okay. I have all this stuff.
I don't blame you. I understood that, and I was like, I don't want to.
Let me read it over quickly. Let me read it over tomorrow afternoon and actually give you feedback. Okay, is that cool? Yeah, it's fine. Feedback by Thursday morning?
Yes, sir, that's fine.
Because if I possibly do that, I totally apologize.
It's fine, no, it's my fault honestly as well because it's so long.
Both of us are busy. Just make it right. Just make it right. I just also don't want to inconvenience you or penalize you because I've also been,
honestly, it's on both sides, so
Right, yeah, so I'm going to try and, no, I haven't seen email from our coordination and that kind of stuff, so I'm sending it out tomorrow night. I'll read it tomorrow night. I'll get it on Thursday. I'll probably just go through a Word document, do the fact sheet, something like that.
Alright, Senate's back in session at 8:28 p.m. Alright, with reading into our statutes, I don't know the validity of that. So you have one of two options that you could pursue, which are either you postpone this entire discussion until we have a response from, imagine, legal counsel or somebody else who can see if there's a course of action that says you can remove yourself from. Okay. There's also the fact that you can vote to disband the committee. So there's those two options on the floor for the Senate. Senator Brown.
Based upon statute 213.2.1.1, which says three signatures on an impeachment memorandum, the former committee and 213.2.2.6, which says that by majority vote, the Senate may terminate the committee and drop the investigation at any time. I move to disband the committee.
All right. So official motion. Any objections? So, Senator Aldridge.
Is your, I guess, can I make a friendly amendment to your motion to vote on disbandment of the committee? Because you just were saying.
Okay.
Well, actually,
my concern was that you were gonna, my objection was that you were just going to disband it without even a vote. Which we need to do.
Well, that was.
So that was my objection. If there's a different objection,
Well, I was going to take her motion as the vote.
sorry.
It's fine. Actually, before, so is the premise of your disbandment that there are not 3 signatures on that?
Yes, and that
Okay.
by other statutes says we can disband at any time.
Okay.
If the Senate chooses to vote.
Could you amend your motion? Like this is me recommending, so just take
All
it
right,
as well.
I amend my
Could you
motion.
to vote on
Just
disbanding?
vote on disband.
Sure. Any objection to voting on disbanding the committee? Senator Romero.
I mean, I would just like to have a discussion about it.
Sure.
We get what everyone's thinking about.
Do you rescind your motion?
I rescind.
Sure. Senator Belzer.
Okay, I just have a question to the back. Okay, so if you guys were to disband the committee,
Right, disbanding means it's dropped off. So like, it's no longer in existence. There's nothing. Excuse me. Sorry. There's no future investigation of this specific. Cool. Senator Priest.
So going off that, at the same time, couldn't we like just create a new committee?
You could. It would just have to require a whole new. Well, I mean, another signature or another 3 signatures. Senator O'Day.
So going off Senator Belzer's question, what would happen to the 3 justices in question in their job?
Well, I mean, there's nothing against them right now. It's an investigation into impeachment. So they'd be no different than they are right now, which is doing their job.
Okay, thank you.
Senator Rum, unless that's a motion. Okay, Senator Rum. Here's the motion.
I guess I'm just, we just, as a whole, get more elaboration on
That's what I'm saying. So we don't know, like our statutes don't have anything that outlines a removal of a name. And so you either postpone until.
I get that.
Oh, okay.
I guess elaboration from Aziz of what changed from his signature till now, because the information that Mr. Brown gave us and the information he gave us don't match. He said he was blackmailed or forced into signing it. He said that he doesn't like the way it's being drawn out. So those are 2 completely different reasons why they're removing it. So can we get the stories to match up by any chance?
If you'd like to elaborate on.
I can only speak of what I said, that the process is, in my feeling, it's from each side, it's months staying with each other and escalating each side. So,
Senator Rum, is there a follow-up?
Yes, it's a follow-up. So the gathers we had earlier should not say that.
What's the statement of when Mr. Reed, so if you would like to confirm that.
Senator Rum,
That was mumbling. Can you repeat the
Oh,
statement?
he said,
Yeah.
no.
Okay, that's the statement that I received from Mr. Aziz, so, if you can confirm that.
Okay. Senator Ulloa. Oh, okay. Senator Alcasana.
May I ask him, were you threatened, and if so, by who? I mean, accusations were made. I think we should get some clarity.
Senator Ulloa.
I think this is getting a lot off topic, and this is an issue that if there were like threats or anything like that, it should be brought up impeachment or something otherwise, and it's not necessarily.
So like SRR?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is based on if he feels that it's not right to go on because his, I don't think we can really discuss the argument. I mean, that's my opinion, but.
Senator Rum.
I mean, I respect that fully, and like everyone has the right to withhold or present, I guess, information to the Senate, but this is very relevant to the topic at hand. I don't see how it's not. These things were said to the public out loud, probably even before that person was called on. I guess it was written, it's what they believe, so it's our right to ask these questions to these people. They have the right to withhold that information from us, but that doesn't mean it's not necessary for us to ask these questions. That's why we're here, that's why we voted it. If you feel uncomfortable or that this is too tense for you, you can step out of the room, but the rest of us who are curious
I mean,
have the right to ask.
for the comfort of Mr. Aziz, would you like to elaborate?
I would not.
Okay, so, thank you. Senator Canton.
Okay, so I agree. I think it was highly relevant to the conversation, but this is obviously very serious matters that are being discussed. And personally, I would understand if I were in Mr. Aziz's position, not wanting to come into Senate, have an outburst about a personal conversation come out, and then immediately start making large recorded public statements about this. So I understand the reticence there. My feeling on the issue, on the wider issue of the impeachment committee itself, is that given the significant questions that have arisen about the possible bias of the committee, given the very convoluted nature of what's happened with Mr. Aziz's signature and his proposal on whatever or his desire on whatever grounds to rescind his signature to the charges, I think it would be prudent to dissolve the committee. The next steps, whatever be taken, obviously is up to the Senate. Will be affected by Mr. Aziz's decision on whatever he pursues in regard to the circumstances surrounding the rescinding of the signature. But I think it would be reasonable, and I think it would avoid the appearance of impropriety and bias in the selection and function of this committee if it were to be dissolved and we were to look at what other steps we would possibly want to take later. That's my personal feeling on it.
Senator Aldridge.
I guess the only thing I want to say is that, I mean, impeachment is the most serious offense that anyone in student government can lobby. And I feel like, and I hope most people agree, I feel like there has to be 100% wholehearted effort that if you feel like this person has done something so erroneous or heinous that they should not be in student government anymore. I find it hard to believe that that can be switched in 1 week. So, and this is nothing about whatever, if they're innocent or not, but to lobby such a claim that was 7 pages long and then to stop 1 week later because you didn't think it was going to take this long, when it's not really been taking very long at all. I mean, the last impeachment committee that happened 3 years ago for a different justice took 2.5 months. So I just find it incredibly hard to believe that it taking longer than expected after 1 week is the reason for why you want to disband the whole impeachment committee.
Senator Priest.
I just have a question for Senator Brown. Is it more that you want the entire, you want the committee disbanded, or do you want new people on
the okay. You may answer. Go ahead.
No, I don't talk about the people on
Senator Pellegrino, and then Senator.
Mr. Aziz rescinded his signature, and Mr. Patel said that at this point we don't really know what's the right course of action to take. On that basis, we shouldn't be making any differences or taking any actions regarding the future of this committee. On the other hand, the accusations that were brought up today towards the ethical behavior and professionalism of the committee, in my opinion, shouldn't shadow the 7-page memo of impeachment with even more serious allegations against the Supreme Court. I would like to reiterate that we're not impeaching anybody at this point. We are conducting an investigation, and if these charges were brought up, if these allegations are being made, it is only fair that we go to the bottom of the problem and we find out what's really going on?
Senator Yulo, or Senator Lopez, sorry, Senator Lopez first.
I mean, it was the same thing pretty much. It's just I wanted more clarification just because I feel like it takes away of the meaning of having 3 people sign it. It's like you signing off on something and then a week later completely removing it because you weren't happy with what was being followed through with it. I mean, like you should know what happens afterwards, and that's why you signed it in the first place. So I just want clarification. Like I was just adding on to what she said.
Gotcha. Thank you, sir. Senator Cohen.
How long will it take for you to give us feedback on the other option? In other words, like try and figure out what statutes actually say.
It's honestly, we go to legal counsel, and however long it takes legal counsel to turn over to respond. They're closed right now, as just time has it. But honestly, it's a hit or miss because sometimes they're in, sometimes they're not.
So follow up, if we don't vote on it or we don't make a decision tonight and we decide to go the alternative route, which is to get legal aid's opinion in order to see what should be done correctly.
I'll say 3 days at the maximum, really.
Okay, so 3 days
Fair?
at the
Oh, well,
maximum.
Mr. Mank, is that, yeah, okay.
So does this like put the report or the committee itself on hold? Is this like a frozen thing right now because of all this that's happening?
I see that's where my concern is actually at because statutes don't have anything that dictates this, so I don't know how you would, because it's no different than if I like here's the last bill, right? So if like Mr. Goff said I repeal my retract my signature, I don't know if that's a thing. That's the only concern. I don't know if it's a thing, so I'm just gonna have to ask legal counsel if that's a thing. Senator Ulloa, Senator Pellegrino, Senator Kenton, then Senator Bowles. Go ahead, Senator Ulloa.
I just think that the committee should be disbanded only because if one of the 3 people, there's only 3 signatures on the thing, if one of the 3 people is questioning, it makes me question how much they actually believe in the accusations in the first place. And I think that if you're signed it because you're like leaning towards one way, whatever the reasons are for pulling out, I think if one of the people that you're getting a signature on such a large impeachment bill is pulling out, then there's probably something wrong in general. That if you not have the evidence, I think that you should put things on hold, set aside, and if there's strong evidence that 3 more senators or 3 senators agree that we should go into impeachment, that I think we should just continue from there. But I don't see why we should keep it going if we have 1 or 3 people.
Senator Pellegrino.
Again, statutes they don't mention anything. My understanding would be that as long as there isn't a formal motion and a vote by the Senate dissolving the committee, then there's really no way, or they don't say anything about putting it on hold. My suggestion, I guess, would be, if we're not really sure, because we're not even sure if he can do what he's trying to do at this point, would be just continuing as of right now for 1 more week until we have the result from legal counsel and see, like, take it from there and see what we can do. If he is allowed to do that, then we'll go ahead. If the Senate wants to dissolve the committee, then we'll go ahead and dissolve the committee. At this point, there is really no way of, I believe, I can correct it, of putting it on hold until statutes of really say.
Senator Kenton, Senator Bowles, and then working our way back.
2 things. The basis for Senator Brown's original motion on voting obviously was Senator Aziz's withdrawal, but the Senate has the power to disband it at any time. So there's no statutory or legalistic reason that we would.
Right, that's fine. Right.
Okay, yeah, I just wanted to clarify that. The second thing, I guess the perspective I'm trying to look at this from is if I were being impeached, like if someone were saying made a bunch of allegations against me on ASRC, and I was sitting in the other side of this chair, and all of these events had gone on, even if it comes back and legal counsel tells us that it's not within one of the signatory powers to rescind their signature, would I feel as if I had been given a full and fair process with due process, as if I had been given every benefit of the doubt that should be afforded to me in a fair process? And I don't believe most people would reasonably say that if they were on the other side in this position, if they had one of their signatories come out and say that he wanted to rescind his signature because he feels that there's bias inherent in the process, if there had been numerous people who have had questions about the execution of the committee and some of the procedural things that are going on, I would personally feel that I had not been given a full and fair process, and I want to maintain as much faith in the integrity of student government as possible. Obviously, it's been a very long, drawn-out process, and I think that it's very important that this time we act with a great measure of caution. As Pro Tempore Aldridge said, this is the most serious allegation that you can bring up in student government. This is the most serious process you can go through, and it's something that I think we should always be erring on the side of caution by.
Thank you, sir. Senator Bowles.
Just point of inquiry. If Aziz is able to indeed drop his signature, would another senator be allowed to sign on to that?
No, you'd have to have a new memo for it, or a new submission. Yeah. Senator O'Day. Oh,
So if we were to vote on dissolving this committee tonight, can we still get a legal opinion?
No, then that would just be irrelevant to get a legal opinion.
Okay, so you can only get a legal counsel?
It's one or the other. You get it? Like, it's either you take this, you could still have a legal opinion, there's nothing wrong with it.
Okay.
It just would accomplish not exactly.
I was saying if we dissolve it tonight, can we put it back together in legal?
No, you'd have to have a new memo, no different than,
Okay.
because it's just, right. Cool, Senator Armstrong. Oh.
My only question is that there are, and I feel like we seem to be forgetting about people in these committees, there's still 2 more signatories on the actual impeachment, the impeachment. They still, I'm guessing, they haven't spoken, and I will not put them on the spot, but I'm guessing they stand with what they said. And the thing is, when, again, I will not put him on the spot either, but when Abdul said that he's taking his, his signature back, he didn't, again, you can read it if I make any errors, but he's saying that there's something about 2 sides, I don't know which 2 sides, but is getting, escalating, and it's still very vague to me. And so that's what I'm saying. Why are we taking something back, and we don't even know what the person's doing? And again, it's not an attack on him, but if I don't know why you're doing what you're doing, why am I going to just say you should just take it back? Let me just pretend like it never happened. And with that, I know there might be still some discussion points, but if, I don't know, again, you can take them, but I feel like I would like to motion to postpone this until next week.
All right, well, I promised the man in the back that he'd be third, so if you don't mind holding it. Sure. Mr. Thomas.
The last time I was here, I noticed that there was more than 3 people that was running for the 3 chairs that were selected for the impeachment committee. If he is stepping down from his position because he doesn't feel comfortable.
He's not on the position, though.
He's not on the
No.
position. Then how is this retracting his signature have anything to do with the
Well, because you had to have signed it to make it a thing, and then that is presented to Senate as a thing, and now if he is able to retract his signature, then it's like pulling the Jenga block from the bottom. You get it? Like, that's the basis of it. It's submitted, moves on from there. And so excuse me, I'm just trying to explain as simply as.
Well, my next question would be, would it be possible for you guys to have a third signature if someone else
No.
wants to do this?
No, his question was exactly that. If you could add another signature, you cannot. Thank you, sir. Senator, it doesn't work that way. Like, it's okay. Senator Hartman, do you still have a question? Are these all questions? Like, I'm assuming they're not motions. Yeah, can I do a motion? I'll respect her motion first.
I was going to reinstate the motion.
Hold on for a
The
minute.
amendment to that.
Senator Cullen, or actually, there's no motion yet. Senator Brown's at a.
I was just going to respond to myself.
We're responding to the air because we're not attacking anybody.
I'm not attacking her.
Oh, okay, go. Oh,
I'm just saying
if you'd like, go ahead.
Well, I guess you could. I'm not trying to attack you. But if we only have 2 signatures, regardless, it's still going to be
Right. Senator Hartman. Or Senator Hartman, go ahead and make your motion, then I'll accept your friendly amendment if he accepts it, and we'll move on from there.
I reinstate the motion.
Sure. And Senator Cullen.
I'm down because I think there is a lot of, I don't know,
hesitation on this subject at all, but I would like you to also put in that motion that we should get a legal aid, just to make sure it's actually.
That's what you mentioned.
Is that actually going to be a thing if they don't?
You can't really motion to make me do something, but I promise you'll do something.
So is that already like an unspoken thing, or should that be added to the motion?
I mean, with the number of times it's been said on the record, you can add it and just imply that it will happen. So like, I can write it down. Okay. So that's the motion. Do you accept your amendment?
Go for it. It's going to happen regardless.
Okay. I'm sorry. Okay. So, all right. Any objections to Mr. Hartman's motion to postpone this until we get a clarification? Senator Canton.
I object to this other discussion points.
I thought I asked about discussion points and nobody in the hand.
Oh. Yeah, I thought.
Would you like to object to his motion?
I would like to object to that.
Okay, but really quick. This happened last time, and I don't want to. So don't object for somebody else. Let them object for themselves. Sorry. So yeah, just cool. Okay. All right. So, seeing no objections, this will be tabled until next week or next Senate meeting when we figure out what legal counsel's interpretation is or whoever's interpretation is. Announcements. We're still in announcements. So, Senator, Daniel, whose hand is first? Senator Pellegrino, ladies first, and I'll come to you.
Thank you. Just to clarify, so at this point, the Senate Impeachment Committee will continue with the investigation as planned, correct?
I didn't, he was, okay.
It's up to the chair.
As long as you guys can meet, as long as you guys have meeting time. Other than that, there's nothing statutorily stopping you. Senator Uloa, did you still? No? Okay, Senator Hartman.
Going off Coco's report, we're having a 10-day next Tuesday, so yeah, so it'll be at 11 during our committee times. We're going to be outside by the MLK Plaza walkway, 2 tents. It's going to be a general 10-day surveying students what they want to see, what was missing this year, like how we can improve, for next year. So we would love to have your help there. There will probably be food, more details on that. And I'm going to send an email to Adam, hopefully you can forward it to them. Thank you.
Are you accepting additions to your 10th day? Because I have departments and IT and all them trying to have more questions asked to students. Are you willing to, if I submit a couple questions to you?
As long as they can, find their own, real estate, if they can get their own place.
Oh no, I'm saying on our iPad, is this a 10th day with iPads or are you just asking questions like all the other ones?
We're going to have sticky notes, so students can write their suggestions on the sticky notes, and then we're going to group them so we can see how many want to see changes in parking.
Are you unwilling to me joining you? If I join you and post up with iPads and stuff,
sure.
Cool. Okay. All right, announcements. Anything else? Senator Rodriguez.
I don't know if this is appropriate, but I'm going to do it anyways. It's Senator Romero's birthday today. He just turned. Happy birthday! Wish him happy birthday. He's a good guy.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Carlos. Happy birthday to you.
Thank you, sir. Senator Kitty.
Guys, please make an effort to look at the bill. I know we just looked at it a lot, but it's over $14 million, and this is why we're here. So just glance at it before you go to sleep, reading material, I don't know. Just look at it. If you have any questions, send them to us. Yeah, that's all I want to say. Thank you.
All right, really quick. I also promised Mr. Thomas again another moment of our time. So, if you'd like to go.
I don't know if you guys remember the last time I was telling you guys about the Florida model legislature with all the Senate's and that invitation from Philip Rotary for you guys to participate. I sent him an email that he sent to all of you, and he hasn't gotten a response. So if you guys actually want to participate in that, then you need to let him know now, or send an email so that you guys can ball rolling on registering and being able to participate in that. Because you will not be the only college in Florida that will have to participate in this same meeting, and it will give you and the new students the ability to gain some experience in the workshop that will show you in depth on how to be in the Senate, the House, the legislature, and these things.
Any questions?
The date of the event is between May 7th and 30th, but all of that information is in the email blast.
He watching your Sunday? Senator Hartman.
Is student government having a team for Relay for Life?
You can ask the, what's it, programming council? Is that what we're calling them nowadays? Like SG programming council.
Well, anyways, it's in less than 2 weeks, so if you want to come, help out fundraise of the American Cancer Society, sign up. It's going to be a big event. Thank you.
Sure. All right. Back to Mr. Thomas. Any questions? Any? All right. Okay. Senator Colon.
Can we motion to adjourn?
Well, no, we had to do final roll call.
Oh.
Senator, Mr. Mencken, sorry. Mr. Mencken.
I know a lot of schools are sending people to that conference, and a lot of things you can learn. What I'm seeing a lot this year is just in general. You learn those things. This is a really good opportunity.
I really encourage you to be there. Community sent from another university to represent a different university and a USF student. I think that it would be respectful to apply with a yes and everybody and the Senate go down to this Florida model legislation representing USF. I personally believe, I'm not speaking for anyone else, but I personally believe that if you were invited and you so graciously declined, that the community college would probably feel insulted. What's from the president from the previous college.
Any other announcements? All right, hold on. Just final roll call, guys. Really quick, just stay. This is like voting procedure. Just let's do this. Oh, right. Okay. Just click one if you're here. Guys. All right, is that everybody? Senator Colon.
Motion to adjourn.
Any objection to adjourning at 8:56 p.m.? Seeing none, we are now adjourned. Oh, yeah.